keen on a change. There's more on this breaking story coming up next on White and Jordan. Now, we understand Man City are hopeful of beating Man United to the signing of Forest and England midfielder Elliot Anderson, and City would like to complete that before the World Cup. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
I'm intrigued by the fee for this one because I think City feel that £80 million would be a fair valuation. I think Forest would push towards the £100 million mark. And you've got to say, I was picking up my team of the season in the Premier League, and I think Elliot Anderson is very much a contender.
Meanwhile, Premier League winner Mikel Arteta has finished runner-up again, this time to Frank Lampard at the League Managers Association Awards. Arteta did pick up Premier League Manager of the Year, though. Arsenal versus PSG in the Champions League final is live on talkSPORT this Saturday. Could the Premier League complete a European clean sweep this season as Crystal Palace prepare for the Conference League final live on talkSPORT tonight? We're told Rayo Vallecano are not to be underestimated. Our chief football anchor, Adrian Durham, picks out Rayo's wide forwards Alfonso Espino from Uruguay and Spain international Jorge de Frutos.
They've got some good players, and particularly in attacking areas, some really good players. They're lethal from set pieces, certainly corners. All their corners look dangerous. So I think there's something to watch out for Crystal Palace.
Palace versus Rayo live on talkSPORT from 7 p.m. tonight. And Tyson Fury will be back in the ring this August, a week after Anthony Joshua's comeback. As he tunes up to fight AJ, Fury will feature on the Pierce O'Leary versus Mark Chamberlain card on August the 1st in Dublin. There's more on talkSPORT's Boxing YouTube.
talkSPORT News.
Energy bills are set to go up again in July, and NASA plan a permanent base on the moon. Sinead has more in half an hour.
Talk.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy. We're live on talkSPORT. So Nuno stays on at West Ham. Has the right outcome been reached on all sides? Meanwhile, would the Conference League be the perfect parting gift from Glasgow to Palace? Also today, what is Manchester City's pool without Pep? Will teams like Hearts always be subservient to the old firm? Can you weaponise a player's jewellery in a debate over prize money? And is there anything wrong with celebrity fans getting celebrity privileges? It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we are live in talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
So over in Spain at the weekend, you were trying to open a bottle of gin.
Oh yeah, I stabbed myself in the hand, yeah.
Now, Danny, he tells me yesterday with a straight face, yeah, and I stabbed myself in the hand. What were you trying to open? Were you trying to open it with a knife? What were you doing?
Yeah, it was
the seal.
The seal, yeah, and I wasn't concentrating. I was being a smart ass to somebody at the same time. And then stuck a knife in my hand.
So the wound is healing?
It is, yeah. I got things like, "I'll get on with it, you fanny," was the residing chant from everybody at the party.
Blood was spurting everywhere.
Spurted everywhere, yeah.
Thank goodness you weren't wearing that beautiful pink creation.
Indeed.
At the weekend.
Indeed.
You are looking lovely.
Pretty in pink.
Danny, so are you. Good morning.
Morning.
We have a lot to get through. Mr. Murphy and I were sitting chatting idly when the news came through from West Ham moments ago that they have confirmed that Nuno Espirito Santo continues as head coach. This time, though, he's going to be head coach to West Ham whilst they're in the Championship. They went down at the weekend. West Ham say the football operation always has to be our first priority, and the planning for next season started as soon as the final whistle sounded Sunday. We held meetings with the head coach earlier this week, and we are pleased to confirm he's expressed his continued commitment to the club, as we have to him. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent Alex Crook joins us live this morning. Alex, were they always going to come to this decision? Was he always going to stay?
I certainly wouldn't go that far, Jim. Obviously, when Sam, myself and Scott Minto were on air covering for you guys on Bank Holiday Monday, we heard there was a meeting between David Sullivan and Nuno Espirito Santo. I think that meeting actually took place at Sullivan's house, and it looked at that stage like the direction of travel would be a change of manager. But as so often seems to be the case at West Ham, you have people pulling in different directions. I think as of Monday, David Sullivan was more inclined to part company with Nuno. Scott Parker was very much a talking horse as a potential replacement, given his strong links with West Ham and his record of getting teams out of the Championship. And I think actually it was the intervention of the Czech minority owner, Daniel Kretinsky, that has led us to this point. There's a lot of whispers that Kretinsky is going to buy more of a shareholding in the club. He's going to buy more of those shares from the Gold family and perhaps potentially even David Sullivan himself. But ultimately, the upshot is that Nuno stays. I think Kretinsky looks at his record in the Championship, maybe looks at his record at West Ham as well, which was top 10 since Nuno came in, but ultimately not enough to save them in the Premier League, and decided that actually, rather than more managerial upheaval, let's stick with someone who's been there, got the T-shirt, having led Wolves to promotion to the Premier League, and let's try and build again. It's still going to be a massive summer of upheaval at West Ham with several star players moving on, but maybe that consistency in the dugout is perhaps the best thing in order to bounce back at the first time of asking, as they did the last two times they were relegated from the Premier League.
Yeah, very shortly we're going to get the fans to come to air, and we'll be joined by a few of them, no doubt, who will give us their views on whether or not, in their eyes, it's the right decision. 03717 223344. Simon, what do you think? I mean, Nuno, he seems popular as far as I see it in many quarters.
I was going to ask, is it another one of those inspired decisions from Sullivan that doesn't read the room because the fans, because they dislike most of the things he does? And I wasn't sure. First of all, his form as West Ham manager was not top 10 at all. His form was actually quite poor up until the last 15 games where he pulled it together.
Yeah.
But I think he got something like 36 points out of the games that he was involved in, which was 33, because I was under the impression he came in much later. He didn't. He came in with 33 games to go.
Yeah, he had a really bad start.
Now, as far as he's concerned, contractually he'd been obligated. The fact he rocked around to that gin palace that passes as David Sullivan's house in Thyden Boyce would have suggested to me that he wasn't going to be leaving, because if you're going to get rid of a manager, you don't write around to your house to tell him. You deal with him on the training grounds. So I would suspect that for whatever reason, they've aligned themselves with the reality that he's a capable manager, that the end result, the end situation, and ignored the beginning, that it took him a long time to get started. And that was probably the real problem, that the tail was too long at the beginning. And of course, the fact that he'd done better at the end and finished the season with a marginal strength in terms of they won the last game of the season 3-0. They were dreadful against Newcastle. I think they threw it away against Palace in the game that they drew 0-0 and settled for that 0-0 draw when they were in decent form. But all of that probably lends yourself to who is best equipped? Who do we know? How has he worked with us at the back end of the season? And what is his performances like in the Championship with Wolves 7, 8, 9 years ago? All of those probably make common sense to say, if the fans aren't particularly offside about it, why would you change it? The manager must have accepted the premise of being involved in a relegation battle. That's why he was brought in. True.
Why would you change it, Danny? He was brought in to avoid relegation. They're relegated, and he stays on. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, I think there is some common sense around it. I think you can look at it both ways. Unfortunately, you're always going to have a certain section of the fan base that isn't on board with it because of the style of football has been talked about. I was listening to a phone in yesterday where a lot of West Ham fans didn't want him to stay. So there'll be a mixed bag. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. And I think probably with his experience in the Championship, he already knows the group. I can see the sense behind it, yeah.
Style of football is not going to be the question about West Ham in the Championship. Getting out of the bleeding division is. And if we're going to make the argument...
West Ham fans have always...
I know they are, but they're big enough and ugly enough to realise that getting out of the Championship is bigger than what they have to play like once upon a time when they all won the World Cup for us. But the fact is that if you talk about Scott Parker, then Scott Parker gets people relegated. So if you're going to bring Scott Parker in to manage your side, then you make the argument, what are you keeping Nuno Espirito Santo for? He got you relegated. Well, Scott Parker got Burnley relegated. So you can't have it both ways in the same argument.
Right. We're going to hear more from Nuno in the course of the close season, no doubt. Certainly post-match at the weekend, after they'd won and won well, he spoke about the prospect of imminent relegation.
It's a moment of deep sadness for all of us at the club. It was a tough day. We had a tough mission. We lost the privilege of deciding our own future. We lost this privilege. We knew that it was not only up to us. We did our part of the job. It didn't happen, so it's a moment of deep sadness.
So sad as everybody is at West Ham United at the prospect of dropping down. Alex, is this going to, in your view, encourage the top players, some of these top players, to stay?
Well, therein lies another story. By the way, when I was talking about top 10 form from January, I think Scott Minto's just corrected me, it was top 8 form, but Simon's right. It did take a long time for Nuno to get going. But in terms of who stays and who goes, I don't think it was a particularly harmonious dressing room, not a particularly harmonious relationship between Nuno and a lot of the players. Take John Clare Todibo, for example. He was taken off very early in their final away game of the season, when they lost at Newcastle, that ultimately played a big part in their demise. It's our understanding at talkSPORT that he refused to play on the final day of the season, told Nuno after he took him off at Newcastle, I won't play for you again. There were some issues with Callum Wilson earlier in the season when he was trying to terminate his contract. So I think he is quite an abrasive character, Nuno. He doesn't always see eye to eye with his players. But in terms of departures, I think Somerville will definitely go. Todibo, who I've mentioned, Mavropanos is pushing for a move. Jarrod Bowen is the fascinating one for me, because I was told last week that if they go down, he'll definitely leave. There's a statement from him on social media suggesting that he's ready to stay and fight to get the club back up.
Crookie, can I just ask you? I listened to that statement. If you read it properly, there's nothing in there about him helping West Ham come back up.
I think West Ham fans are reading into it that, that suggests he may well stay. I think he'll probably still go. But the point I was going to make is he's 29. For the type of money that would make it worthwhile for West Ham to sell him, who's going to pay that? Who's going to pay 50, 60 million quid for a 29-year-old?
Promoted clubs might do. I mean, maybe we'll get that Plastic Ray Winston, Danny Dyer, whose daughter he dates, to convince him to stay at West Ham.
I actually think it wouldn't cost that. They're not stupid, West Ham. I'm not going to get 60 million for a 29-year-old. I reckon you'd get him out of there for 30, maybe 40 at the most.
When you look more closely at the West Ham statement this morning, we know we must also take steps to repair the club's relationship with its fan base.
Good luck with that.
Well done, Alex. Jinx.
A simple question, Simon. Is the relationship repairable?
Alex and I just said the same thing at the same time. Good luck with that. No, I mean, it should be. And people should have a wider set of eyes than just a general distaste for David Sullivan. Whatever he is and whatever he isn't, football clubs that David's been involved with, Birmingham City fans never had it so good. They might be getting back on the road again with Brady and his gang, but it's taken them a long time. When Sullivan was there, they loathed him. They loathed Karen, they loathed David Gold, God rest his soul, and they loved David Sullivan. But they had a real period of decline after they left Carson Young and all those people that came in that made a Horlicks of it.
Yeah.
So careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
But there is no way. We've heard them. We've heard the West Ham fans coming on here. They'll never forgive them for the stadium. They'll never forgive them for every misstep, whether it's selling Dimitri Payet and buying Robert Snodgrass, or whether it's telling people they're going to do this and the other, and the stadium's going to be fit for purpose, and it's not fit for purpose in people's minds, and never going to get past that. So once it's been seeded in people's minds, it's a bugger of a narrative to change. They don't like the chairman. They don't want him in the business. They think he's whatever they think of him, and so he's never going to change that. So the best he can do is not try to. His best focus in life is to try and get West Ham back to the Premier League, because that establishes some value back in it for him. Because the only way he's going to get out of that football club with the money that he might think he wants to get out of it is by being in the Premier League. So there's a common goal without a common spirit.
Yeah. Alex, it seems like any mutterings that come out of the club are met in some quarters with disdain. David Sullivan's partner, Ampika Pixton, I think she was pictured beside him at the weekend, business owner, former star of Real Housewives of Cheshire, has come in for criticism following her post on social media standing on the West Ham club crest at the London Stadium with the caption, "Time to reset, restructure and rebuild. Only way is up." And yet, and if you're watching on YouTube, then you're seeing exactly what I'm describing. And yet, Alex, that was met with a torrent of abuse in some sections of the West Ham support. Does it surprise you that in some quarters was the reaction?
Not at all. And it shouldn't have surprised her. It shouldn't have surprised David Sullivan, who, as we understand it, was advised by security to vacate his seat long before the final whistle the weekend. There was an incident after Jarrod Bowen scored the second goal. All the fans in the lower tier, which is the side of the ground where the press box is, they turned and started to abuse David Sullivan. And the next time the camera panned to his seat, he wasn't there. I don't know what she's got to achieve from this, to be honest. It feels like attention-seeking. She must know the reaction she's going to get. Why post it in the first place? The partner of the owner saying the only way is up is not going to appease West Ham fans who've long been fed up with the way the club is run.
Alex, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Alex Crook, as always, right on the spot with the breaking news. It's not advisable to involve another member of the family.
I know.
To get
I mean,
involved.
what could have possibly have attracted this rather young and attractive, desperate housewife to the 2-foot-tall multi-millionaire David Sullivan? I'm sure that awareness is not one of her wonderful traits. But notwithstanding that, yeah, people shouldn't get that kind of abuse. But notwithstanding it, they do.
Yeah. So Nuno stays. And this is the subject matter we're kicking off with this morning on the show, as you might imagine, because the story broke just before we came on air. Are you pleased with the outcome, West Ham fans? Do you back Nuno to get you straight back up, or was it time for Nuno to go and someone else to come back in? You tell us, because it's a big move, it's a big decision, and Nuno carries on in the job. 03717 223344. And as you heard from the statement of the West Ham club as a club this morning, we know we must also take steps to repair the club's relationship with its fan base. Is that relationship between club and fans repairable in your view? 03717 223344. Give us a call on this hot Wednesday morning. They came mightily close, Emmanuel, to being relegated. And as I mentioned there, 2 consecutive 17th place finishes. And he's saying, 10 to 12 of these guys can stay on. You know, we've got, in other words, we have quite a number of them that can crack on next season. Does he have those players? Does he have as many as that who could do them a job next season? I mean, how many of this group go forward long term, do you think, with De Zerbi?
Well, if you point the finger at the players, I think everyone will say this exactly the same. They don't deserve to play at Tottenham. But if you look at the whole situation, take an X-ray, you know, for the last 2-3 seasons, you realize that there is no serenity and on the bench. They have changed so many managers. And since Levy left the club last season, I think many people in the board have made so much mistakes, you know. And I think the chief executive, I can't remember his name, but I think he has to take responsibility as well. So, of course, the players have a huge responsibility because when you look at the squad, when you look at the money they have, everything, the new stadium, the fan base, I think this club should have played, you know, for European places. But if you look at the whole situation, I think for me, I don't understand what's going on at Spurs, you know, in terms of sport vision. I don't see it, you know, because when things doesn't go the way they want, they fire the manager. When they don't want this player, they take another one. That reminds me so many clubs, you know, the policy of so many clubs, and they are wrong. You have to stick with your vision. But what is the vision actually at Tottenham? There is no vision at all because the manager changed every single 3-4 months. So you have to come back on what it means, you know, to get a team, which means for me, they have to change the mentality inside the club because I don't see the same Spurs team, you know, the same club I used to see for years and years, you know.
Yeah.
The mentality for me is the worst.
And if they don't change this vision, they're looking at a third. Some more news coming out of Tottenham Hotspur, or more specifically, the Tottenham Hotspur ownership. Going to bring you some details of that regarding the club not being for sale, that amongst other things. 10:20 this morning, this Wednesday morning, May the 27th. Can you believe that? And it's another hot day here in the southeast. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy. We're live in talkSPORT. And of course, we're reacting to the news that West Ham have confirmed this morning that Nuno Espirito Santo continues as head coach. This time, West Ham will be in the Championship, though. They dropped down at the weekend. They held meetings with Espirito Santo earlier in the week, and they are now pleased to confirm that he's expressed his continued commitment to the club, as we have to him. So, pieces broken out. Everybody's happy, but are the fans happy? What do you think of it? 03717 223344. Phil, big West Ham fan. First up, are you happy?
Good morning, Jim. Good morning, Simon. Yes, I'm over the moon. Good morning, Danny. Sorry.
Good morning.
Yeah, I'm over the moon because this is what we need now. You need continuity. We need continuity. This is a manager whose body of work is quite good. And this, I think Simon alluded to it earlier. We're going to replace him with Scott Parker, who's up and down more than a yo-yo. I nearly said something else there.
Well done. Well done. Yeah.
But he, no disrespect to him, great guy. West Ham, we love him at West Ham, Super Scott. But he's taken clubs down. Gary O'Neill, he's gone to League One.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to come back. But again, his body of work isn't great. Nuno has a body of work. And do you know what? For me, what swayed it is when Jean-Claire Todibo said, I'll never play for you again. Great. Because you haven't pulled up any trees at all.
Right.
You haven't done anything.
And Phil, specifically on Nuno, what persuades you that he is the right man to take you forward?
Because he has a vision, because he has a plan. And we saw that with Wolves. We saw that with Nottingham Forest. If you give him time, he will build a team that will get us out of that division. But not only will it get us out the Championship, but it will keep us back in the Premiership. Because we know how difficult it is, regardless of your history and how many 10 years, 14 years, 40 years, however long you've been in the Premier League, when you go down, there's no guarantee you're going to bounce straight back up and stay there. And that, for us, is more important than staying there. And for the fans, and I'm a lifelong West Ham fan, Jim, I love them. Going to stay where he is. He's doing it on. He's going to stay there, and it's like the ground. We're going to get a fairy godmother to come along and just knock it all down and build us a purpose-built 100,000-seater stadium where everyone can see the game.
I'm pleased that you're pleased, Phil. Thank you very much indeed. Daniel's a big West Ham fan. Daniel, do you think this might lead to some of the top players at West Ham staying as well? Is that what you're looking at?
I think it's going to make some of them stay. Probably not. I think maybe a couple of the bigger names. But you know what? I'm not actually unhappy about some of the bigger names leaving. When some of the names are like Somerville, who I think's only performed for a few games, and he probably wants to get out already. Do I think I'll probably be quite happy for him to go? People think I'm mad, but I just think that's not West Ham. That isn't us. We need people that want to fight, that want to get us back up, that want to then stay in the Premier League, not ones that want to just use us as a stepping stone.
What do you like about Nuno?
West Ham.
What do you like about Nuno, Daniel?
What do I like about him? Well, as the last guy just said, look at what he's done for Wolves. Look at what he's done for Forest. He's proven. Absolutely proven. There's not many proven managers. And in the Championship, in fairness, a lot of it is about the manager. It's not everything. But you look, a lot of the top managers generally get the teams back up. This year's probably a bit more of an anomaly. In general, I think the manager has a big say in it. I don't think Nuno would have stayed if there wasn't a bit of a plan either, which gives us a bit more confidence.
I think he's also ahead of the game in the fact he knows all the players.
Yeah.
He's been working with them. He knows who's got what characteristics.
Yeah. Is Nuno better than the Championship, Danny?
I think he probably thinks he is, yeah. With, you know, the body of work, especially the Forest.
So are you surprised in some ways that he's sticking with them?
A little bit. But maybe, depending on the reassurances he's got on budget and the players he thinks he's going to keep, he might think they could really be comfortable.
Yeah.
And have a season of winning a lot of games and flying higher the league. And obviously that's good for his CV anyway and getting back up. You know, it's I don't know. I don't know him, so it's hard to comment.
I think he's an acquired taste. I think he's a difficult animal to manage. I remember listening to some of the Wolves conversation. You know, the hierarchy conversation about he's quite difficult to manage. But the Tottenham job would have hurt him. the fact that he managed a big side in whatever Tottenham are at this moment in time, but at the time perceived to be a big side.
Can't really judge him on it, though.
I know, but people do.
Yeah.
And people will judge people like they'll judge Liam Rosinha, and Liam Rosinha's situation will be dramatically damaged by his experiences at Chelsea because his reputation has been really, really sullied. So, you look at Palace. Palace need a manager. I don't see Nuno Espirito Santo as a fit for Palace. So when we say, is he better than the Championship, we then got to qualify it, because I don't think Bournemouth would look at him. I don't think Palace would look at him. And so then who are we talking about?
Exactly.
When we say, is he better than the champion?
Well, there's other leagues,
right.
isn't there?
Sure, I hear you, yeah.
What is becoming evident is this morning, gauging by this reaction, for the most part, West Ham fans are happy that Nuno stays. Linda, are you? Big fan. Good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. First time caller. Absolutely delighted. For me, Pellegrini and Potter have to take the majority of responsibility. And I say to the players, you took us down. You owe us 1 year to bring us back up.
Good call, Linda. What do you like about Nuno, Linda?
To be honest with you, his voice is just so soothing. I close my eyes and I just melt away.
He is quite charismatic.
Reassuring. Yeah, his voice is just, you can fall asleep just listening, talking to you. And that's in a good way, not a bad way.
That's what I find in here with these two. Linda, thank you very much indeed. Robert's a big West Ham fan as well. Before we head to the 10:30 bulletin, where are we going with this then, Robert? It's thumbs up all round for Nuno, or is it?
No, he's a keeper for me, definitely.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, I like what he's done. Considering the car crash he picked up, all right, we went down, we got to take that on the chin. But I reckon, give him a year in the Championship and let him stand on that. If he fails, well, ta-ta. If he gets us through and back up, he's done his CV a world of good.
Robert, fair point. Thanks for the call. Simon, here's the thing.
This is why you wanted Spurs relegated, because West Ham are far too happy or contrite with it or accepting of it. Spurs fans would be outraged if their team had got relegated.
We're going to get to Spurs very shortly. Am I not getting something? Everybody keeps on saying, look at what he's done. He's got them relegated.
Yes.
Yeah, but he didn't have a full season, and also
he had
a long time.
September. He had 90% of it.
Yeah, he started
33
September
games.
Well, actually, I remember I did a few of the early games, and some of his selections were bizarre. But
he was working it out, wasn't he?
I think what he done at Wolves in terms of getting them up and then thriving.
And then
he had a lot more time than De Zerbi.
He did, and that's why you have to price that into the thinking. But I think De Zerbi had a lot more to work with than he did. I think it's undeniable that Spurs have better players. They might be a bunch of cheats, and then might need to be drop kicks out the door, some of them. But notwithstanding it, they had a better talent pool. He didn't have that much to dial into, certainly defensively. And he got the best from them, I think.
Also, as well, most recently, if you look at players and managers, you look at what they've done most recently. What he achieved at Forest was nothing short of miraculous.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Simon, we heard from Alex that maybe this wasn't Sullivan's first call that Nuno should stay, but it certainly was being pushed reportedly by the Czech shareholder Daniel Kretinsky, who's said to have an ever-increasing influence on the football club. Is that significant? This guy's coming to the fore a bit more.
Well, maybe. I mean, I've always assumed that he would be the output deal for David Sullivan to exit stage left whenever he chose to, or pass of it. I mean, he hasn't done wonderful things for West Ham. He hasn't done wonderful things for the bleeding post office that he's bought either. But that's a different discussion. He's a very successful man with a very driven perspective, I understand. So whether he has had something to say to Sullivan, I would imagine there's an element of cooperative thinking about it. David just won't sit there in the same way that he'd have conversations with David Gold and to some extent maybe Karen.
Yeah.
He now has a shareholder that is watching his investment diminish. May well be an outcome for David. I can't really see David, unless we can really beat him to a pulp, metaphorically, selling his shares now in West Ham because it's its lowest ebb. And he will want to return, irrespective of the disdain that people have toward him.
Yeah.
David is about money and achieving outcomes, so he'll want to be getting the value that he can get for West Ham. So all things being equal, I would imagine that it was a collective decision, and his input was part of it.
Kretinsky's reportedly got a 27% stake in the football club.
Yeah.
Sullivan's at 39.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's not getting far away. If he acquires a bit more, he's really going to start going places.
I mean, if you want to control the football club, you have to have 51%. If you want to control everything and all the aspects, you need to have 76%. So he's a long way away from being able to dictate the tone and circumstance. But if he's the money in the room going forward, because Sullivan doesn't want to put his in, then he will have an increasing say, won't he?
Okay.
And he didn't buy a stake. any more than Dragan Slovak bought a stake in Southampton to get relegated. And he's got a whole different set of problems now.
Exactly.
But notwithstanding that, neither did this fella.
Yeah. Talking of Dragon, where is Dragon? Haven't heard from him in a few days. The Lewis family have been speaking this morning. Remember them? Oh, yeah. The owners of Tottenham Hotspur. They stayed up. But what the Lewis family is saying, we'll get into that next. It's 10:30. Now, Simon, you're going to enjoy this. Producer Luke from the other side of the glass, come on through. Ladies and gentlemen, Simon and I often talk about producer Luke. Here is the show coming around here.
Can you just say your name, what you do in your life and everything,
Tell us about the best.
Listen, I am. You did say if we win it, I've got to come in and apologise. So I'm doing that. I'm holding my word. So. Manu, I'm sorry. I'm on the Arsenal. There you go.
Don't be sorry to me. Be sorry to the Arsenal fans everywhere in the world.
Me and every other Arsenal fan. We're all losing faith. You too as well.
Good man. Good man.
Well done. He's a man of his word, which counts for a lot these days.
I tried to forget this morning anyway. So,
first and foremost, on a serious note, Simon and I spoke about it last week. Obviously, what does it mean to you? I mean, how did you react in Paris?
I watched the game, every single game the last couple of weeks, and I watched the game City against Everton, and I thought after the halftime, I thought, they're running the game, they're leading the score, it's over, it's gonna be until the end, and then Everton did a great second half, and they deserve to at least get a point. I thought they should have won that game, but anyway. After that game, Arsenal were champion. So I received so many text messages, that night, from people here in England, around the world.
Tell us, give us some names. Who texted you? If you can.
Were right. You're 20 years waiting, it's such a long time. We deserve it. It's such a great day for Arsenal, for the club, for everyone's. But I was thinking, but how many were positive, for the last couple of months? I've heard so many critics even from the fans, from pundits, from the players, and I was thinking, hell, what's going on? Is it something against Arsenal? But
especially your mate Vieira, he's been quite negative. Even when you won it yesterday, he couldn't quite bring himself to give it all of it. Yes, of course, if they win the Champions League, they will be remembered as the biggest achievements. But not the biggest team, not the best team.
Oh, really? With Patrick having a day.
Compared to the Invincible.
Compared to you guys.
We understand Man City are hopeful of signing Elliot Anderson, who would prefer the Etihad over Old Trafford. City would like to get it done before the World Cup. Forest value Anderson at 105 million. City is saying more like 80. Well, despite Pep Guardiola's exit, talkSPORT's Ali McCoy says City's recent signings keep them competitive next season.
Gehi, Cherky, Semenyo. And you could argue they've come in and been excellent. They've strengthened that City side, so I'm not sure they're going anywhere.
Meanwhile, despite winning the league, Mikel Arteta's come second again, beaten to the Manager of the Year award by Frank Lampard.
I remember coming here 2 years ago. I watched it all, as we all do here tonight, and because of how I am, I was a bit envious. I was out of a job, and I wanted to win. I wanted to be back in. When I went into Coventry, I didn't believe that I'd be here in 18 months' time.
The promoted Coventry manager received a message from Sir Alex Ferguson at the League Managers Association Awards. Fergie praised Lampard's humility and curious mind. Now, Northern Ireland manager Michael O'Neill is staying on for another 4 years. The news comes 2 weeks after O'Neill turned down an offer from Blackburn Rovers. And a group of English fans are being held by German police ahead of tonight's Conference League final. That's after clashes outside bars in Leipzig. Crystal Palace versus Rayo Vallecano is live on talkSPORT tonight.
Good morning, everybody. Just gone 10:30 this Wednesday morning. Another hot day here in London and the South East. I hope it's bearable wherever you're listening all around the UK and beyond. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT this Wednesday morning as the World Cup gets ever closer. We'll get to that. We're sticking with this just now because after a frantic weekend that saw Tottenham Hotspur win and West Ham win, but still go down, Tottenham Hotspur are looking to the future. Tottenham beat Everton 1-0, but it was still a dismal season for Tottenham, wasn't it? A second consecutive season and a second consecutive 17th place finish. They won 10, they drew 11, they lost 19. They finished 44 points behind their North London rivals, the ultimate champions, Arsenal. 44 points the difference. And now Tottenham and the ownership are looking to the future. In the last few moments, the ownership, the Lewis family, has written a letter to the fans. And amongst other things, they say this: as owners of 25 years, we have lived the highs and the lows of Spurs with you. Our approach to running the club is and has been to trust the experts to do that, while backing them to be successful. The problems we found were deeper than we realised and were allowed to build over the last few years. So, Simon, not for the first time, this is another swipe at Daniel, isn't it?
Well,
Daniel Levy by the Lewis ownership.
Well, they could be actually putting themselves all in this basket of unfortunates. Or what did Hillary Clinton say? Basket of undesirables, wasn't it? Where they are all complicit. They might be doing that. They might be magnanimous. I doubt they are. But they're suggesting that their ownership, which has always been consistent, and their vehicle that they deployed, Levy, operated with complete impunity, no regards for anything they did, and they sat in the background like little puppets going, well, thank you for what you've given us. The running of Tottenham Hotspur for the last 25 years, whoever ran it was run in direct conjunction with the ultimate owners, which is Joe Lewis and his family.
Of course, but the Lewis family trusted Levy to run it in the way that they thought
they didn't trust it blindly.
They would see fit.
They didn't trust it blindly.
Well, it sounds like it.
Well, they didn't.
Well, they've got serious problems with the way he ran it.
Well, they have serious problems now because it probably suits them to create a different narrative to distance themselves from their previous ownership version. So it's a bit like me, myself, and Irene. Don't look at what I'm doing. You know, here we are. I'm a sort of bipolar owner. I was once upon a time the owner with Daniel Levy, gave him the opportunity to run it, set in conjunction with Levy the budgets, the controls, the mechanisms, allowed him to do the deals, ratified those deals probably as the primary shareholders and the biggest investors, didn't want to put any money in ourselves, really. And so now what we're going to do is say that was nothing to do with us. I think it's a bit silly. But I understand why they're doing it, because it suits the narrative that they wish to advance. So that was then and this is now.
Are they not being honest here, Simon?
I think that's probably the exact opposite of what they're being. I think they're probably being slightly disingenuous. But it doesn't really matter. All that matters to Tottenham fans is how do we get a better football club? And if it suits them to blame Daniel Levy for whatever reason, and there's clearly a falling out and continued to be a falling out between the various parties, because once upon a time I would suggest that Daniel Levy was Joe Lewis's surrogate son. That relationship has clearly deteriorated. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been handled in the way that he did. And of course, you've got these little treacherous turncoats, like the guy that came in from Arsenal that Daniel recruited, that was running around blowing smoke up Daniel's backside until it didn't suit him to do anymore.
Yeah.
And of course, now he's changes his allegiance, and people like that you just don't need. But that's the kind of leadership they've got. So here we are now, where they're saying these things. Tottenham fans should be rubbing their hands because they're going to have to be accountable for it. They said it last year. They said they were going to do something different, and what did they do? They nearly got the club relegated. They didn't deliver them a European trophy as well. They nearly got them relegated. They got away with it.
Yeah.
And so that will, of course, crystallise a reaction in them. Of course, you will see a difference in them. Now, whether that difference translates into a winning team, we'll see. Whether they can maintain the relationship with Roberto De Zerbi, because we know he isn't a bowl of cherries. We know he's not going to be easy to manage. We know that when he doesn't get something, he gets something he doesn't like, he's prepared to go against the ultimate football club owner in Tony Bloom and be a deceitful little rascal. So he'll be the same.
Well, they've now got a lot to live up to, Simon. This will
keep on saying it.
This will require investment in our teams, the academy, our backroom functions, and more. And we're fully committed to this. We're not selling the club. We're all in. We're investing in it. You'll see more of this in the coming months. All right. So the fans are going to say now, right, do exactly what you said in this letter.
It's all about It's about recruitment, though. The recruitment's got to be better. And they've also got to be ruthless with the players they get out, which isn't easy because a lot of them, their stocks drop.
How many of them would you keep, Danny?
Well, it depends because so many of them dictated to by length of contract, what they're earning, who have they got suitors? If you want Romero out, you got to have a taker, haven't you? He will have takers because he's a super player. His attitude stinks, but that's a different question. So whoever's in charge now of the recruitment, yes, they're going to give them some money, that's for sure. De Zerbi wouldn't have signed on the dotted line unless they're going to give them money, but they've got to walk before they can run.
Interestingly, it's not about the money they spend. They spend decent money.
They do.
Spurs. It's about wages.
It is, yeah.
And here comes the issue we're going to see, right? Because this is the opaque stuff. You don't see this, right? There is a reason why Spurs paid, percentage-wise, one of the lowest in the division. 42% of their turnover was on wages. There is a reason, because these were in part banking covenants that they put in place with their bankers, because the Lewis family wouldn't give them any more working capital, so they had to have relationships with the banks. And the banks had certain requirements, like the banks had certain requirements of Arsenal. I think it's a well-established fact that when Arsenal leveraged the debt to buy the stadium, one of the conditions that the bank put on it was Arsene Wenger stayed as manager. That was a condition precedent. One of the obligations from Spurs is they have a certain wage to turnover ratio. Okay, then. So now you're going to unwind all that. So you're not just going to buy 150 or 200 million pounds worth of players that you've done for the last 2 or 3 years. We all know that. You're going to change the way you operate. So you're really going to have to change the mechanisms that are deployed. Now, we know they've got plenty of money to do it. Let's see the ambition. Let's not see the same old stuff that we've seen previously, which is the 200 million pounds they're prepared to spend on players. Let's see if they produce a much bigger wage bill in keeping with matching their competitors. Let's see if they unwind the banking covenants, which means they're going to pay even more interest on the money that they borrowed to finance the stadium, or they're going to have to put more money in, because that's where the issues lie, and nobody wants to talk about that. They only want to talk about the reasons why this new ownership model, which, by the way, is the same ownership model from before, is going to do something differently. I hope they keep saying this, because I hope people then double down and zero in on what they're doing and make them accountable for it. And by the way, Tottenham Hotspur, like most football clubs, is up for sale. Tottenham Hotspur has been up for sale for some time, and we'll see. Of course, you have to invest.
Tottenham Hotspur has been up for sale for some time.
Of course they have.
So why did they say today, we are not selling the club, we are all in?
Because they haven't got.
We're investing in it.
Because first and foremost, in order to sell something, you have to make it worth something, and at this moment in time, it's worth bugger all because they got relegated. Not a good time to sell Spurs now, is it?
It's still worth more than if they'd have gone down.
Sure, but notwithstanding that, any potential investor looking at Spurs now that's been convinced that ultimately it's not a club that gets relegated, we are a guaranteed revenue stream. That's what Spurs would have liked. Daniel would have liked to have had no relegation in an ideal world. So there's a guaranteed methodology for being able to market something. But Spurs looking at it now, if you're trying to sell Tottenham Hotspur,
what would you get? What would you pay for it today?
I don't know off the top of my head. I know that they're in the market for about $3.5 billion. Now, whether that was including debt on the stadium or without debt, not entirely sure. And that deal was in the offing and close to being done. And arguments were being had about certain things around who would get paid what, when, and why. So with that in mind, they may not be selling today. One thing you have to do, one thing that's been clearly established, this might be sounding like stating the bleeding obvious, but it's become even more clearer. In order to make a football club worth more money, you actually have to win things. It's wonderful having Charltons and West Hams in the past and Palaces that are punching above their weight and getting bought for 500 or 600 million quid, or Newcastle being bought by the Saudis for 300 million quid. The more you win things, the more the economic. Now, Manchester City.
But they did.
What?
They won the Europa League.
Serious things.
All right. Right.
Serious things.
Right.
In terms of, the Premier League, or the more you look like you're capable of doing that. So the silverware side of things has really made it, because football clubs have now, how many football clubs have we actually seen, all these valuations that we see now, how many football clubs have actually been sold for money? West Ham, Palace have been bought into by Woody Johnson at a value of about 500 million quid. Newcastle were bought for 300 million quid. The investment in West Ham was probably circa around about, if you ratcheted it up, probably somewhere between 600 and 700 million quid. All these valuations are 3.5-4 billion quid.
Yeah.
No one's ever done anything like that. The only one that's done it is Radcliffe at United, which is a money-making machine anyway, if you get it right. And ultimately Chelsea, which was an enforced sale. So the valuation of Man City, if it was to be sold now, because it won everything, probably gets it to 3 or 4 billion quid. And the reasons why it gets it to 3 or 4 billion quid is because A, they've invested a lot of money into it, and B, they win things.
Right.
So when you buy a football club, look at the people who are buying it. The most important people in football now are actually owners. I know people are not going to want to hear it, but the ownership models now and who's owning football clubs and the reasons why they're doing it, because it makes no sense to own a football club. Right. All you do is lose money. There's a few of them now, like Arsenal, that are making a few quid. So you then have to look at what they do and how they do it to make it worth something.
Right. You leave us all standing on this. What did they mean when they say we are investing in it? You will see more of this in the coming months. We're investing in it. What does that look like?
Well,
transfers.
Well, first and foremost, is it self-generated money, or is there going to be an issue where there's going to be introduced capital to be able to support this observation? Because we know that Spurs are going to get 150 million quid from the Premier League. We know that they're going to get their commercial deals. We know what their season tickets look like. We know what their turnover is. We know that they get 500 or 600 million pound a year in, right? Give or take. So we know that with squad capping rules and so on and so forth, they can spend £300 million on wages. We don't know I don't know what their depreciation and amortisation is, but Spurs can spend 150 million quick as they've done it. This is not the question. The question is, where's the new capital coming in from making this decision? Because it could only have ever come in the first place from the shareholders. They didn't do it previously.
Yeah.
The same shareholders, nothing's changed. They just don't have a blame hound anymore. You know, the dog that farts under the table, it wasn't me, it was a dog. They haven't got that anymore. Daniel Levy's gone.
That dog is gone. There's a message. It's obvious that Joe Lewis handed Levy the keys to Tottenham for all those years. It's only recent that Lewis handed the control to his family, and this is where the issue lies. They run ENIC now and not Joe Lewis.
That's probably true. That's probably
and Jack,
true.
who sends it this message, says, I think they're telling the truth.
I think that they can think what they want. Actions will prove to be louder than words. The fact that Joe Lewis is the primary shareholder in a business, believe me, Joe Lewis and his family, with all due respect to the acumen and level of competency and level of commercial success that they have, which dwarfed anything I ever had, is not a hands-off owner. Whether it be through Vivian, his daughter, whether it be through his sons-in-laws, or or whatever they may well be now in circumstances, or grandchildren, they will still. He is still, maybe not quite as competent in certain aspects given the age that he's at as he was once before.
Right.
But there will still be, in my devout belief, a opportunity to sell Tottenham Hotspur, which will be taken by the Lewis family at a time that suits them best. Now, that may not be tomorrow.
No.
Granted.
Can't sell it now, can they?
No.
Not after this letter. So everybody's staying. Nuno's staying at West Ham. The Lewis family, who own Tottenham Hotspur, are staying. We're not selling. We're all in. Everyone's staying. So are we at 10 to 11. I don't think Roy appears to be in any mood to say he was wrong, because on his Instagram account, Keane shared a photo of a donkey with two lions in the background, and it had a caption of "Too much attention makes a donkey think he's a lion." So that doesn't appear to be Roy backing down, does it?
Does he have to back down then? By whose standards does he have to back down?
If you quoted somebody and you quoted them wrongly, and they hadn't said what you thought they'd said, you'd man up, wouldn't you?
Probably.
You'd front up.
Probably, because I think it would give me more strength to be right than in a different instance than being wrong and standing with it. Because if I was wrong, I still think that Fernandes is a weak leader. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good player in an average Manchester United side. And I think you'll win nothing with him of significance. And they really haven't won very much. But that doesn't alter the fact that Fernandes is, I think he's better than he was 2 or 3 years ago. I think myself and Souness used to sit on this show going, never win anything with people like Fernandes. That's not a leader. Keane's a leader. Souness was a leader. I'll have those guys all day. And yes, I know they belong to a different era and a different generation, and an era and different generation that we should long lament for, because it's brand of modern day football, and no thank you very much.
Roy's a club legend, yeah. Do you think he's become a bitter club legend?
No, not really. I think he's set in his ways. I think he harks back to a time when United were, as I said, strode across English football with all the swagger, and I think he doesn't like the idea of them being an also-ran. And and he's basically saying, a day of a lion or a life of a lamb, whatever it is. They're lambs. They're lambs. This Man United guys. They can't even breathe the same rarefied air as the Man United teams of the previous. So I think there's an element of that. I think people look at things and go, like I do sometimes, look at people going, how have you got? I hate people getting rewarded for mediocrity. I hate people getting things they don't really merit. And today's society hands it to them and lionises people. And I think Roy's a little bit like that. Now, I think it would be better for him to go, you know what? It's a strength to turn around and go, on this instance, I got it wrong, but I still think you're flake. I'll take that from him. So he should, but he won't. And that's part of the appeal of Roy Keane, that he will stand. You can listen to the other ones, like Ian Wright, that never say anything about anything, or you can listen to Roy Keane. I love Roy Keane all day. I love him all day, and every now and again, he'll say something that he shouldn't say, or row back, or won't row back from something he has said. And you can draw your own opinion on him, and you can conclude that that might be a limitation of Roy, and he should do this. Who says he should? We?
Big night for Crystal Palace fans everywhere. Of course, Crystal Palace take on Rayo Vallecano in the Conference League final in Leipzig, Germany. We'll get to that shortly. Talking about Crystal Palace, they hosted Arsenal at the weekend on the day that Arsenal were presented with the Premier League trophy. It was quite a moment, wasn't it? The players enjoyed it. Of course they did. They achieved it alongside Mikel Arteta. The fans who were lucky enough to be there will never forget that moment. But some of the fans you could call celebrity fans really enjoyed the moment, didn't they? Took full advantage of the moment. They were on the pitch at Selhurst Park, enjoying it with the players. Piers Morgan has pushed back at fans who claimed that he shouldn't have been on the pitch at Palace on Sunday celebrating the title win with the players. Morgan and his sons Bertie, Stanley and Spencer were all on the pitch alongside fellow celebrity Gunners, actor Jake Wood and comedian Jack Whitehall. But critics highlighted hypocrisy from the likes of Morgan, who had previously gone for Mikel Arteta, calling for him to be sacked in 2022, to now share photos with the manager and the players on the pitch. Morgan, for his part, pointed out that he paid 4 750 quid hospitality tickets for his family to be at Selhurst Park before he was invited on the pitch to be a big part of the whole thing. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see exactly what I mean. Is there anything wrong, Simon? Anything wrong, Danny, with celebrity fans getting celebrity privileges?
I have mixed emotions about it. I mean, you could make the same argument for Noel sitting up on a stage holding one of the trophies that was celebrating Pep Guardiola's 20 trophies.
But that was a special event,
and so
he played a part in it. He was doing some interviews,
and so to some extent, it was a special event on Sunday. I'm not a great fan of it, but I was a miserable old sod when I was there. I wouldn't, when Ronnie Corbett once asked me for some tickets, I said, "Have you got a season ticket?" We were playing Liverpool in the cup semi-final, your lot, and he said, "Can I have a ticket?" I said, "Have you bought a season ticket?" Rather than just be generous to spirit and go, well, celebrity fans are part of it. They raised the profile to some extent because we had Bill Nighy, we had Joe Brand, we had Bill Wyman, who the players never even heard of. Clinton Morrison didn't even know who the Rolling Stones were. I don't know. There's a part of me that goes, no. And there's another part of me that thinks, oh, so what? In the great scheme of things, do we really care that much? I mean, are they taking... Did Piers Morgan take anything away from anybody else? He paid 750 quid a ticket to go there. If people are... By the way, people are capable of changing their minds. I mean, how many times did Piers Morgan run around like a demented lunatic shouting about COVID? And he was bloody wrong. So he's changed his mind, written books about it, and
it's
said
where we're at. It's where we're at.
Let me ask you this: would this happen at Liverpool?
Well, I mean, it's probably not. No, I mean, definitely when I was there. No, I mean the times have changed.
Times have changed. Exactly.
There's a crossover now that's come from various aspects: social media, TV, entertainment. It's I don't particularly care either. But if I was a player, I think I'd be a little bit miffed. I mean, look, when I was at Liverpool, and we started getting some success. The conversations around even having your missus and kids coming on the pitch was had, because a few of the boys, and I was one, was a bit like, hold on, like let the lads enjoy it. It's not for the missus and kids. Even going back to the time when Dennis Wise took his kid up to lift the FA Cup. Come on, like what are you doing? It's about you and your teammates winning something together. I'm a bit old school with it. I don't like it. Well, that's from a footballing perspective. Now looking into it, doesn't bother me. But as a player, I think the group of lads who've got you there, and even the staff members, the physios and all that, get them involved because they've been there every day grinding with you to get to the success, the medical team.
Yeah.
To start having them, I mean, we didn't see it at Liverpool last year, did we?
No.
And I think that I don't think the fans would be too keen on that, Liverpool. And Liverpool have got more celeb fans than most.
I think some of the Arsenal fans, Danny, I would have thought, Simon, would be well within their rights to say, Piers Morgan, what did you do to help us get the title? Jake Wood, what did you do? I like Jake Wood a lot, but what did you do?
I don't blame
Jack Whitehall. Yeah, but I remember you playing your part, or did you? What did you do?
My thing is, I don't blame them at all for enjoying the moment and taking advantage of it. I think it just moves the attention away from the players.
Yeah.
And the players are the ones that deserve the accolades. So yeah. I'm all for the players getting all the plaudits and all the euphoria around it. And adoration.
But I agree.
You're not in terms of...
I agree with both parts of the argument. I think Danny's right. And
but you didn't agree back in 2022 in the World Cup final when celebrity chef and influencer Salt Bae,
that was ridiculous.
He was on the pitch.
Yeah, but that's even worse because that's even worse because he's not a big fan, is he?
Ended up posing with the World Cup.
First of all, I mean, he is not. We're talking about domestic football, international football, so you should judge them by different standards to some extent.
What? It's the same thing.
Well, not really, because you could argue that, and I don't know what Piers Morgan does and how many games he attends, and quite frankly, I don't care that much either which way. And Keir Starmer the same, with his little two-penny thing there. But the idea that somehow that we don't accept in this day and age, we've got the whole change. People have got to shake one another's hands before they get on the field this day and age. The whole dynamic of football has changed. We're in the entertainment business, so it's not surprising. I used to dislike intensely, and I said it to him when he was in the studio, the trouble that Paul Gascoigne got himself into with our mate down the corridor, because they didn't care. Chris Evans, they didn't care about the well-being of footballers. They were part of a celebrity culture, and footballers and celebrities have always mixed. And so now, even more so, in this amplified world where the modern-day rock stars, the modern-day movie stars, are footballers. They are on the front page of a newspaper, the back page of the newspaper. They're hand in glove with celebrity. Beckham was, with marriage to Victoria and all that sort of stuff that amplified his world. It goes hand in hand. And of course, the modern-day fan can look at it through a certain prism. I'm not hugely offended by it. If you want to be offended by anybody, don't be offended at the opportunity that Piers Morgan took. Be offended at Arsenal Football Club allowing it and encouraging it and developing it. They want the attention. They know that Piers Morgan's got 9 million followers, right? Yeah. And Piers Morgan putting his 2 pennies up there. That's why he's got a massive Paddy Power commercial out now.
You're his best pal now.
Jim,
no,
Simon,
not at all. You've changed. You slaughtered Salt Bay for doing it.
We're also at a time where we've got... We've got football clubs allowing other football clubs to do guards of honours for players coming off the pitch.
Exactly, that's my
point.
point.
As a substitute coming off to get a standing ovation during a Premier League game.
Danny, the pitch is for the players, is it not?
Yes, and I'm with you.
Right,
but
so you disapprove of what you saw on Sunday?
Well, not so much that it... ideal world, as a footballer I'm coming from...
Are you offended by it?
No, I'm not offended.
Are you offended by it?
I was offended by Salt Bay. I thought that was utterly ridiculous.
That was...
And Messi gave it. Who the hell are you?
But we were offended by Salt Bay because of Infantino and that sort of undesirable.
Yeah, but Salt Bay incident. He's not a football fan of one of those teams.
Yeah.
We're talking about
pop now, isn't he?
When you've got Piers Morgan and Jack Whitehall and Wrighty, they're Arsenal mad, aren't they? They're loving the moment.
And
Jake, they are Arsenal mad. This Salt Bay fella, he didn't care who won it, did he? He's just on there trying to get hit.
That's my point about allegiances. This is,
Danny, all Arsenal fans are Arsenal mad, but they all don't get the privilege to go on the pitch and celebrate.
Well, that's life.
But we know that some of the most vacuous people in the world are celebrities. Some of the most disingenuous slobs that ever graced the bloody God's earth are people that are given things for free because they're celebrities. And that culture of celebrity is something that we should all decry. But it exists.
Yeah.
And what we used to be superstars now are reality stars. I mean, these gormless nitwits that can barely string a sentence together are now doing television commercials about education. Look at that Gemma Collins, for crying out loud. These are the world that we live in. Celebrities, unfortunately, the tragedy of our modern days.
Chris sends us a message there. Thanks for that, Chris. Jim, you're right. I remember Simon slagging off Salt Bay. You did.
Shut up.
You did. But now, Salt Bay apparently appears to be a pretty good guy, as does Piers Morgan, as does Jake Wood, as does Jack Whitehall.
Jake Wood's my mate.
Or is he? That's not what he told me.
Jake Wood's my mate.
What about Arsenal fans who would have wished to be there at the weekend, but couldn't, for love nor money, get themselves there at the weekend? Because it was, after all, an extremely difficult venue to get to if you're an Arsenal fan, because you knew the Premier League title was going to be presented at the end of the game. Give us a call on that. Should celebs be there? Is there anything wrong with celebrity fans getting celebrity privileges? Why don't you give me a call on that one? 03717 223344. It's Jim White with celebrities Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy.
Let's get back to some calls. Go to Darren. He's a Spurs fan. All right, Daz?
All right, Daz.
Hi.
How are you, Daz?
Relieved. I'm not celebrating like some of the fans that have come on from Spurs. I think they're ridiculous. The only thing I did when the whistle went, I turned to my mates who I go with every time, and we said we're relieved, and we walked out the stadium because we just had enough. And the way fans are behaving, and calling out Chelsea, that's ridiculous. We finished 17th. They finished
10th. Yeah, but they won nothing.
Hang on a minute.
They won nothing, though.
So did we.
Yeah, exactly.
We won nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, but we're a disgrace, and so are they.
Yeah, but we are more of a disgrace. And the way that Tottenham fans are behaving is ridiculous.
I agree with him.
No, well, you will agree with him.
No, you're speaking. He's the first one that's phoned up talking any sense.
Dazza,
right?
It's a shocking season, but it's over. It's over. Season's over. We're up. Cheer up.
It's over. It's an embarrassment. What do you think people like Glenn Hoddle look when they look at that side?
I know. Well, they've got to sort it out, haven't they?
Legends of the club.
Well, they've got to sort it out, though, Daz, haven't they? Got to start again.
Yeah, they've got to sort it out, but there's no good when fans are turning around like we've won a cup. It's ridiculous.
The stayed up trophy.
Good trophy that, though, Daz.
The inaugural. Well done.
Mate, it's good trophy that. Staying up
Yeah,
cup.
it should be a toilet bowl. It should be a toilet bowl because that's what it was. It was toilet. They should have stayed in the toilet where most of those players came from.
Holding up a toilet. Silver toilet.
That's a good trophy, that.
Holding that up.
I want to get a picture of that.
Yeah. Someone will AI that.
Staying up trophy.
Someone will AI that and send it to us, mate.
Yeah. It's unbelievable stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, Daz, enjoy it, mate. It's up. It's over. We can all relax now. Got the World Cup coming up.
He's the only one under a rock.
Just relax.
The only one. The only one that's got any. Only one that's got anything about him. Only Spurs fan today.
Van range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 11:04, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. West Ham have announced Nuno Espirito Santo will stay on as head coach in the Championship. For more on this slightly unexpected news, here's our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook.
I think actually it was the intervention of the Czech minority owner, Daniel Kretinsky, that has led us to this point. There's a lot of whispers that Kretinsky is going to buy more of a shareholding in the club. He's going to buy more of those shares from the Gold family and perhaps, potentially even David Sullivan himself.
West Ham say Nuno is highly motivated to take them straight back to the Premier League. Fans told White and Jordan they're relieved.
We need continuity. This is a manager whose body of work is quite good.
Look at what he's done for Wolves. Look at what he's done for Forest. He's proven.
And I say to the players, you took us down, you owe us 1 year to bring us back up.
Now, Kasper Schmeichel has been forced to retire with a shoulder injury. The 39-year-old Celtic and Denmark keeper hasn't played since February. He says this isn't how he wanted his career to end. With the transfer window 19 days away, we understand Barcelona have been in touch with Newcastle about Anthony Gordon. Bayern Munich are also interested in the winger. And we're told Man City are hopeful of signing Elliot Anderson, who would prefer the Etihad over Old Trafford. And ahead of tonight's Conference League final, a group of English have been arrested and detained by German police following clashes outside bars in Leipzig. talkSPORT's chief football anchor is Adrian Durham.
So basically, it was Leipzig ultras having a go at English football fans who they see as hooligans. Basically, the English fans can't come on our patch, so we have a go at them. That's what happened last night.
Crystal Palace versus Rayo Vallecano is live on talkSPORT tonight from 7 p.m.
talkSPORT News.
Homes on variable energy deals are set to pay an extra of £18 a month from July, and NASA's planning a permanent base on the moon. Sinead has more in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. The weather's hotter than a barbecue on a bank holiday. So score an aircon recharge at your local QuickFit. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
Sunny spells continuing for most of us, hottest in the southwest, bit fresher elsewhere, cloudier in the northeast, brighter spells there later, and a few showers possible across the south today.
Good morning, everybody. 7 minutes past 11 o'clock. It is Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Danny Murphy on Wednesday morning, the 27th of May, and we are live in talkSPORT, live on your TV as well. Everybody seems to be watching this show every morning now between 10 and 1, and I'm thrilled about that. Prime Video, Samsung TV, YouTube, we're live on it every morning, and you're watching the show as well as listening to it. It's a massive night again for an English club in a European final. Danny knows what that's like to experience as a player. Crystal Palace take on Rayo Vallecano in the Conference League final over in Leipzig, Germany. Bit of crowd trouble, a bit of disturbance amongst the fans earlier on in the streets of Leipzig. We may get an update on that before we go much further, but we'll see how that works out in the course of the day. We've seen celebrity fans pitch up Arsenal's Premier League trophy lift on Sunday, such as Piers Morgan, such as Jake Wood, such as Jack Whitehall. Should they be given access in any which way anyway? Should it not just be the players and maybe the owners of the club, as we saw the Cronkies on the pitch with Odegaard and the rest? Should that be it? And thereafter, the others are virtually imposters. I mean, Piers Morgan is actually pictured, if you're watching on YouTube, with one of the players' medals, Declan Rice's winner's medal, round his neck. Should that be the case? Is it all a bit too much? Is there anything wrong with celebrity fans getting celebrity privileges? Many of you want your say on that. Steve, you're a big Arsenal fan. Did you go for it? Are you having it or not?
I don't mind it at all, Jim, to be honest with you. It's more the narrative that you like to push sometimes. I know us Arsenal fans are getting a bit of stick for that, but you literally just shot Simon down then when he said about the Gallaghers at City. Oh, no, we've got something to celebrate. 22 years, like everybody's liking to remind us, we've waited for this.
I didn't see Noel on the pitch with the Premier League trophy above his head.
He was up in the stand, though, wasn't he? He was up in the stand, though, wasn't he?
Oh, that's fine. But some Arsenal fans, I think, have issues with those celebs being on the pitch.
I think what you're saying is this ain't just an Arsenal thing. It's
not an Arsenal thing, but as we know, it does like to be pushed the Arsenal way. But no, it's the fans' fault, but it's always the narrative that's pushed against Arsenal. Journalist Jim, should we say? But it's not. I don't see a problem because if it was at the Emirates, why not come onto the pitch at the Emirates?
Yeah,
I think
we're not the first side to have ever done it, but it's picked out. It's picked out because it's Arsenal.
This isn't the first time we've seen this, as you rightly say, Steve. We saw Salt Bay at the World Cup final. We talked about that at the time, and at the time, Simon wasn't having Salt Bay on the pitch. It's just, should they be there anyway? It's nothing really to do with journalist Jim or whatever. Should they be there in amongst it, or as Danny suggests quite rightly, in my view, it should be for the players, the management team, and those only?
I get that. I fully get that. But like you said, it's 22 years. It's a massive occasion for us. And we've took a lot as Arsenal fans. Fair enough.
That's not the point, though.
One to say it. I'll be the first one to say it. I've said all season, rubbish. Arsenal have been rubbish all season. I don't like the way we've played. None of it. But Arteta's done the job we've asked him to do.
I think if Arsenal Football Club are all right with it, which they were, and if they wanted it, then if everyone's all right, it's no biggie.
Yeah.
I think I'm talking from a footballing perspective when I wouldn't have liked it as a player. I don't care now. And if I was a famous fan, I would take advantage of it if I got the chance to. And I don't blame them at all. But I think it's for the players personally. And
I agree. I agree emphatically with that. That really and truly, it's about the players and the management, and to some extent the owners. But it's not about celebrity fans. But we don't live in that world, so I'm not offended by it. I didn't like Salt Bay going on there because I think he's an irrelevance. He's got nothing to do with anything besides the fact he can cut a gold piece of meat up and sell it for a ridiculous amount of money. Other than that,
I think he's gone bust now.
I think that's what I was saying. I think he's gone bust. Yeah,
good news.
But as far as at least you've got some with domestic football. These guys are supporting these clubs up and down the country, perhaps investing in going to watch the games. God knows whatever else. So whilst I don't particularly agree with it, and if I was considered a celebrity, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't want it.
No,
I wouldn't want. It's not about me.
No.
It's about the team.
No.
So I don't know why.
You know your place, though.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't. But it's about. Of course, it's about the players. But we don't live in that world now. We live in a different world. So we should pack it in being offended on behalf of other people.
I wonder what Simon thinks. Simon's a big Arsenal fan. Where do you stand on this, Simon? Good morning.
I totally disagree with him going on the pitch. It's illegal. You're not allowed in this country to enter the pitch. front row seat. I'm a season ticket at the Emirates. Been there for 30 years. I can't even get a shirt signed by a player because you can't get on the pitch. In fact, the Burnley game, one guy next to me jumped over and got escorted straight out when he was trying to get his flag signed.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, the fact that celebrities go on it, Piers Morgan's there in the crowd, you know, not just in his box. He's obviously come down to the crowd. He's pictured in the crowd, and he's coming onto the pitch. He's illegal. Why should celebrities get that when fans can't even get a sign, you know, a signature on a shirt?
There you go.
It's
Celebrity privileges.
Yeah, we know that.
And Simon's just made the point.
But he's right. I mean, when we won the playoff final against West Ham, I went down to the pitch, and that little ratbag, Nick Craig, who's the lawyer for the Football League, said to me, "You can't go on the pitch." I said, "What do you mean I can't go on the pitch? It's my bloody club." He said, "You can't go on the pitch. It's Football League rules." And I said, "Well, that's handy because I'm not in the Football League anymore, so get out of the bleeding way. I'm in the Premier League." And it passed him.
Do you know what, though? The hypocrisy around what I mean, even I have a go at myself, but, you know, when you go somewhere like the embassy and we jump the queue or whatever.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. It's a package.
We all benefit, don't we?
Yeah.
You with your free tickets.
Yeah,
everywhere.
absolutely.
Say that again. You went to the embassy and you jumped the queue.
I didn't jump the queue. I got offered to go to the front of the queue. And I
got
had
a big
great
sign saying I'm Danny Murphy.
I just had to take my hat off. The
Would you get your visa?
The lovely guy, yeah. You know, you have the benefits. We all have the
What
benefits.
Although
When was the last time you paid for a ticket?
Absolutely.
Well, having said that, there's a message. Do you reckon the Brighton fans complain every time Jim White sticks himself at every event that club seems to have?
There you go. See,
I mean, there's no message in this. I'm not on the pitch. Well, actually, wasn't the pitch. They built a stage. They built a stage the other night.
Jim, you've been
at the
wined
Amex.
and dined at Wembley all weekend.
Yeah, no, I was sought after by the EFL.
Yeah, exactly. You didn't put your hand in your pocket.
But Piers Morgan,
Bobby
Piers Morgan, before we know, might have been sought after by the Arsenal management.
Oh, do you think?
I don't think so, but he might be.
It's funny how you've changed on Piers, isn't it?
It's not true at all.
Because in the past, you'd be right down his throat like you were with Salt Bay.
I'm down Piers Morgan's throat when he's wrong about things.
Right.
That's a horrible thought.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, isn't it? That's not right.
And you're kind of having this. Now you're kind of having this and kind of not. That's basically where we're at.
I don't care about it either which way.
He's ambivalent.
I am disinterested.
Good word, Dan. Well done. Should be really for the players, should it not? Anyway, whatever happened, that happened. And Jake Wood and Jack Whitehall and Piers Morgan all enjoyed the moment, as did every Arsenal fan worldwide.
Whitehall shouldn't be on there because he's not funny.
How lovely was that? It's 11:15.
Whenever we've talked about potential England players for the World Cup, your name is always mentioned of players that we both think should be going. It's not just me and Ben, it's the listener as well. So I'm guessing you would have felt you'd done enough this season to have gone. How did you find out you weren't going? When did you get the call and what was said?
I think I got the call on the thing at Thursday, like everyone else did, whether they were going or not. A good honest conversation. He just said, I think I've got people ahead of you right now. It's nothing to do with you. You've done everything that you could possibly do. I've really enjoyed watching you the past 6 months. Just unfortunate the way it is. And, you know, I respect him as a manager. I think he's a top manager, and I really hope the boys go on to do something incredible this summer, because they truly deserve it. Even the gaffer, they truly deserve it, because he's a top guy. And I appreciated the call, because he didn't have to call me to tell me I wasn't in the squad, so I appreciate that. But for me personally, it's difficult. It's so difficult, because you try and put yourself in the best possible situation to go, and I believe I did. But I think the game's all about opinions. I mean, you guys on the show, it's all opinions. Some are wrong, some are good, some are bad. And I've been on a lot of people's wrong opinions in my career so far, and I've always got over them hurdles and bounced back from it. So this is just another hurdle, another thing to bounce back from.
So I was going to say, so how difficult was it to take? Because again, me and Andy talk about it all the time, and I've been there where you almost convince yourself that you've played well enough, so you're going to be going. And when that call comes that you're not going,
Wednesday morning, the heat is on, is it not? Wow, still hot in this part of the world. We wish you well trying to cope with it at this particular time of the month. The month is May. We're almost through it. The 27th. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy. At the weekend, we saw Alexander Usyk in the Pyramids of Egypt beat kickboxing champion Rico Verhoeven via a controversial, albeit 11th round stoppage. It was Verhoeven's second professional boxing fight. He caused Usyk problem after problem in the fight. And in the 11th round, Usyk landed an uppercut that sent Rico to the canvas. He beat the count, but a follow-up from Usyk in the closing seconds saw the referee step in and wave it off. But there was a sentiment post-fight that Verhoeven and his team should have felt suitably aggrieved that the fight was stopped when it was. The trainer of Rico Verhoeven, Peter Fury, joins us live in the show this morning. Peter, good morning. How do you feel now that the dust has settled somewhat?
Good morning. I don't feel anything. We are where we are. He had a good fight. He put his best foot forward. Usyk landed a great uppercut to end it. That's what happened.
Peter, you say you don't feel anything. It's my understanding that you had a chat with the referee after the fight on the flight home, and he even admitted that maybe he boobed and he should have carried on with the fight. Is that right?
Well, he never admitted he done wrong. He just said, I didn't hear the bell. He said, I asked him some questions which he never responded to because I went over to him and asked him because, in my opinion, he did do wrong. He got it wrong. We all make mistakes. It's human error. But I have a right to ask him the question. So it wasn't, I never told him it was anything private. I just asked him in the middle of where we're lining up to with the boarding passes and whatnot. And I just asked him, I said, why did you stop it when the round was ended? And he had 60 seconds to recover. He stood up. He wasn't out on his feet. I said, why did you stop it? He said, well, I didn't hear the bell. And I'd done what I thought, I'd just done what I thought was right at the time. That's all he said.
I mean, Peter, I was talking to Paul Smith, Spencer Oliver and Duke McKenzie yesterday, who were all extolling the virtues of how you prepared Rico for this fight and obviously the performance that Rico put in. And one of the things that we sort of took away from the conversation I suggested, if Usyk had been on the end of this in terms of, I think fighters have internal clocks that know where what stage they are in the round, so they could have known that it was coming to the end of the round. And I'm surprised that referees don't. But if Usyk had been getting that, then I don't think the referee would have waved it off. And this is perhaps the consequence of not understanding Rico van Herven, because it's a crossover fight between someone from a different discipline and not understanding the credentials of what you were dealing with. Yes, he'd taken some shots. Yes, there wasn't something coming back. And yes, he was fatigued, and he used that 20 seconds to put his gum shield back in to buy himself some time. We all know that. But is that possibly see why there might be some, not mitigation, but degree of explanation as to why he wasn't afforded the opportunity to sit on his stool, recover. With due respect, Peter, I think Alexander would have got him out in the 12th round, but I think he earned the right to have that opportunity.
Yeah, we never know. He could have very well got him out there in the 12th, or Rico could have gotten his boxing on his back foot, which he didn't do in them rounds, and he could have survived it. So we just don't know. It's likely he could have got stopped, but it's also likely he could have went to points. We'll never know.
Okay, we'll ignore that point, but address my other point about the reality of it. Potentially, if Usyk was on the receiving end of Rico landing those blows, he, as Alexander Usyk, the heavyweight champion of the world, probably wouldn't have been stopped, would he?
No, definitely not. And the thing is as well, I don't think anybody would, because when you've got a fight that's contested and it's neck and neck going through the rounds, and it's a heated, contested fight, and all of a sudden one makes a mistake, he goes down, he gets up, the gum shield. I spoke to Dennis Crowell, his trainer, and I said, what was the thing with the gum shield? He said, because Usyk was stood in the middle of the ring and he should go back to a neutral corner. He said, and I was saying to the referee, he needs to be over there. So anyway, that's his explanation for that. So, but they got back to it, the bell had gone, and he just jumped in and stopped it. But Rico, he did throw a punch back. He was coherent because as soon as the referee stopped it, you seen what his response.
So yeah.
I mean, his and your plan clearly went very, very well on the night, Peter. And who's to say that if he was allowed to go on, how it might have ended up? Does Rico deserve a rematch with Alexander Usyk?
I think he had a good fight, and I think if Usyk would like the rematch, I think it'd be fantastic. There'd be some changes made. The only thing that let Rico down was ring experience. We can train in the gym as much as you want. The real thing's different, and he could have paced it a bit better. And also, the shot he got it with was the very shot he was told repeatedly in the gym not to do. And and that's what he kicks himself for. Because I spoke to Rico, he said, "I can't believe that I've walked in and done that when it must be 100 times inspiring." He was told that's the very thing he shouldn't do. Because even in the warm-up, we said, look, don't do that because you're open. Usyk will step back and ram the uppercut up, I said, and that's what you got to watch for. So maybe I put bad luck on it myself. I don't know, but throughout the camp, he was warned repeatedly not to do this, and he done it. So maybe you've got to get wet to understand. But take the stoppage out. I believe the referee was totally wrong with the stoppage. That's for sure.
Yeah, Peter, outline for me what you thought of Usyk on the night.
I thought Usyk was incredible. And I've got some questions for you guys because I was listening to your podcast the other day where you're saying, Usyk, look, he's getting old overnight. He's heavy. He's not took this fight serious. Mm-hmm. I'm going to totally disagree with that. And I'm going to ask you some questions if that's all right.
Go on then.
Right. So you said Usyk was like overweight, not taking the fight serious. Why do you say that?
I didn't say that. I asked the question of the boxers. I said, first of all, the physical conditioning of Usyk surprised me. He did not look the same physical condition that he looked in when he went against Daniel Dubois. Now, 12 months has gone past, but he hasn't fought. He looked like a different animal. He looked flat-footed, and he looked physically. And none of this, by the way, Peter, is said to diminish Rico van Herven.
No, I get it, and I'm not saying
the question was being done.
I'm not arguing back.
Duke McKenzie.
I'm just giving you my facts.
Yeah, no, I hear you, mate. Duke McKenzie said that he looked. Now, this is obviously a three-weight world champion that knows what he's looking at. He said that he felt that Usyk looked disinterested and disengaged. Nobody wanted to suggest that Rico van Herven doesn't deserve all the plaudits. And the question was there enough jeopardy? Was there enough jeopardy in Alexander's mind for him to be as sharp as he needed to be, given the fight that was in front of him? So that's the answer to that question.
Okay, well, let me give you some stats on this. Usyk walks around a lot lighter than he actually boxes. Yep. Usyk probably walks around 95 kilos. He's lean. So Usyk piles on weight because he's a heavyweight, and he gets weight on extra.
He looked flabby though, Peter. He did look flabby. Come on, look at him against Dubois 12 months earlier.
Say 6 pounds. Okay, you're giving away 20 kilograms of solid muscle in weight. Yeah. So they've assessed Rico, and let me tell you, 6 pounds of a little bit of body fat around the waist helps you absorb shots.
Okay,
that's what I do know.
Fair enough.
So that's that.
Keep going, Peter. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah. He had no chance before the fight And now he's won. Everybody's basically saying Usyk's over the hill. And I called this before.
That's not true, Peter. That's you being oversensitive. And you were oversensitive previously because you didn't want Rico coming in the studio with us
wrong.
because I'd
Wrong
turned around
again,
and said that I
Simon.
didn't think it was a proper
Wrong
fight.
Wrong again, mate. Sorry, you're wrong.
All right, okay. Well, I thought you were crying about that, but you obviously weren't.
I'm not upset at all, to be honest with you. Just coming on, putting some questions.
But that's
back.
not true, Peter. That's not. No. First of all, I discredited the fight initially, and then when I met your guy, I changed. This is not a fight.
Okay, so how come he done brilliant with Dubois, and all of a sudden now he's not so good all of a sudden?
Because I thought his performance against your guy was appalling. I don't think your guy did anything particularly special. I think he was better than people anticipated he was going to be, but then maybe people should have been a bit more aware of what he could have done. I thought the performance from Alexander Usyk, and I'm desperately trying not to give you grist to your elbow to give your victim complex some even more air, but the fact is that I thought Usyk was poor. I thought your guy was better than people anticipated he was going to be, and that's about the long and short and tall of it.
I think, is that not a fair point, Peter, that Rico, your man, after doing so many sessions with you, really set the place alight. He surprised many people with just how good he performed on the night.
Well, I think my opinion on it is, it's all right. We can all look outside of it and have a view, and I appreciate everybody's opinion. But at the end of it, if you've got an opponent which you're struggling to hit, he's offsetting you, but at the same time he's coming forward and he's landing, what do? It's a difficult scenario.
Yeah.
I think that's where Usyk found himself.
Peter, can I move it on? If it's not a rematch with Usyk, what would be next for Rico? And at this stage, I would just tell everybody, Rico Verhoeven, as I understand it, is going to be in the studio tomorrow morning, and we eagerly look forward to that, Peter. But if it's not Usyk next and a rematch, what would be next for Rico?
Whatever they want to do. I don't get involved in the matchmaking. They just, whatever fights are available. I know Turkey, Al Sheikh has promised him fights, so hopefully Rico can get them. So I'm not involved in that side.
Yeah. Off the back of what we saw on Saturday night, how much longer do you think Usyk will go on, Peter?
I think he said, didn't he? He's got 3 fights, including Rico, so he's had 1, so maybe he's got another 2. I can only go off what he said. Peter,
good having you on. Thank you. Peter trained Rico Verhoeven, who was, Simon, it's fair to say,
Peter did a brilliant
something
job.
of a sensation on Saturday night.
Peter did a brilliant job. It doesn't alter the opinions of other people. First of all, I take my opinions from experts like Peter and experts like Duke McKenzie and Paul Smith, and I base it upon my own view.
Sure.
So the bottom line is that Peter did a brilliant job. Rico Verhoeven did a fabulous job. He's a star. He's charismatic. We saw it in the studio.
Oh, yeah.
So there's no need to be so defensive. But I also think Usyk was really poor. That version of Usyk is either Father Time or there was something else in the mix. But Peter's explained to it. But he's slightly chubbier because he's putting on weight to deal with a 6'9" Rico Verhoeven.
Well, tomorrow we'll absolutely find out.
We did that with Tyson, though,
what Alexander Usyk was like in Egypt at the weekend, because Rico Verhoeven, his beaten opponent, will be joining us live in studio. It's 11:30.
I think from day one we were very clear that we are trying to select and build the best possible team, which is not necessarily to select and collect the 26 most talented players. Teams win championships, it's as simple as that. And what we are trying to achieve in summer can only be achieved as a team.
Is he right, Emmanuel?
I totally agree with him.
Team over talent.
You know, it's the same, when you manage a club, as a manager, the team spirit is more important than individuals. And we've seen that every single season when the team who won the big trophies, are always playing as a team, not as an individual. Individuals are very important, but for me, the team is more important than individual. So as I said before, I was quite surprised in a good way when I look at the list, from Tuchel. And I thought to myself, maybe he's copying, what happened in France a long time ago, not so far away, when Aimé Jacquet became the manager for the national team, he decided to make strong choices, strong opinions, and he was under critics. A lot of people they were killing him, but I want to remind people that during the European tournament in 1996 here in England, France, we went until the semi-final. 2 years after that, we became world champion. And then 2 years after the World Cup, we became European champion. And from that, they played the final in 2016. They played the final in 2020 against Argentina, won the World Cup in Russia. The reason why I'm saying that is because when he took over, as a manager, he decided to, there were huge players. Emil Çakır decided to say, no, I don't want them. The team is more important. So I would probably pick, less talented players up front.
We understand Man City are hopeful of signing Elliot Anderson, who would prefer the Etihad over Old Trafford. City would like to get it done before the World Cup. Forest value Anderson at 105 million. City is saying more like 80. Well, despite Pep Guardiola's exit, talkSPORT's Ali McCoy says City's recent signings keep them competitive next season.
Gehi, Cherky, Semenyo. And you could argue they've come in and been excellent. They've strengthened that City side, so I'm not sure they're going anywhere.
Meanwhile, despite winning the league, Mikel Arteta's come second again, beaten to the Manager of the Year award by Frank Lampard.
I remember coming here 2 years ago. I watched it all, as we all do here tonight, and because of how I am, I was a bit envious. I was out of a job, and I wanted to win. I wanted to be back in. When I went into Coventry, I didn't believe that I'd be here in 18 months' time.
The promoted Coventry manager received a message from Sir Alex Ferguson at the League Managers Association Awards. Fergie praised Lampard's humility and curious mind. Now, Northern Ireland manager Michael O'Neill is staying on for another 4 years. The news comes 2 weeks after O'Neill turned down an offer from Blackburn Rovers. And a group of English fans are being held by German police ahead of tonight's Conference League final. That's after clashes outside bars in Leipzig. Crystal Palace versus Rayo Vallecano is live on talkSPORT tonight.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
Sean Martin joins us from BetMGM. We're going to look at some of the top sporting events, the odds round and about them. Sean, good morning to you, mate. I mean, what an event. The Champions League final. Arsenal PSG in Budapest this Saturday night. We eagerly look forward to it. talkSPORT all over it. Jim Proudfoot, Stuart Pearce going to be there bringing live commentary. What are you thinking?
Morning, lads. Yeah, so I know Alex spoke to you guys yesterday and Emmanuel Petit yesterday, but given it's Danny in the studio, still keen to hear how he thinks the kind of cards will fall for Arsenal on Saturday. It's just over 2-1 for the draw in 90, just under 2-1 for an Arsenal win in 90, 37-20 for them to lift the trophy, 13-10 PSG in 90, and 3-4 for PSG to lift the trophy. So a definite favourite over the course and distance there. And I do notice Arsenal have moved a tad further out in the odds since yesterday as well. A couple injury concerns for PSG, the likes of Hakimi and Dembele, massive players. Timber probably the main one for Arsenal. But I'm curious, Danny, what you think has to happen here for Arsenal to do the business, and generally what your shout is for how you actually see it playing out in terms of the end result.
Well, to win, they're going to have to defend really, really well, which they do very often. Bit of luck go their way. Keeper be as good as he's been. Make a couple of good saves somewhere along the line. And, yeah, they'll need a tad bit of the luck because PSG make so many chances with the quality they got in the front line. But if anyone's equipped, it's Arsenal. Best defensive side in Europe, if not the world. I think it'd be tight. I think if they played each other 10 times, PSG would come out on top. Yeah. But in a one-off game, one bad decision, you could be early in the game. Anything can happen. I mean, they're capable. Yeah. They're more than capable. If I was PSG and I looked across Europe, who would have not want to play in the final? It'd be Arsenal.
Okay, it was interesting. You mentioned Emmanuel Petit, Sean. He was on with us yesterday, and he said the way he looked at their pre-match media duties and the messages that were coming out from those, to him suggested maybe a little air of overconfidence from PSG.
Excitement, dreaming about winning the Champions League twice in a row, making even more history, and everything is green light so far, at Paris Saint-Germain, in France as well, about the Paris Saint-Germain. When you hear the sport show on football, radio, newspapers, everybody that loves football and that like Paris Saint-Germain, it's for me a little bit too much confidence.
Oh.
They have the feeling that they are far away from Arsenal. They are much better than them. If you look at the communication, of course, they won't say it, but the communication and internal communication, you can hear, something different that individuals and collectively, the team is much better than Arsenal. And I can agree until a certain limit, but I don't think Luis Enrique will leave, the situation like that, the confidence, spread into the dressing room.
It was interesting, Danny. He's suggesting the feeling at PSG is we're far superior to Arsenal.
Well, he might know more than I do. He's obviously got contacts and friends at PSG, but the great players and great teams have that confidence and arrogance about themselves. I mean, it never translates into a poor performance in Europe, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Their energy and their work ethic and their quality in the games I've seen has been phenomenal. And even the contrast in their play in the Bayern Munich second game where they had to dig in, put men behind the ball and defend for their lives. They did that brilliantly. Every one of them. The forward players worked just as hard. These two teams have got an unbelievable work ethic, which is credit to the coaches on both sides. But it's, I don't know. I've not the interview. I saw Vitinha interviewed the other day and he was humble and said the right things. So I'm not sure where he's going with that. But as I say,
too. What is the betting saying then, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, PSG are the favourites. As I say, over the course and distance, they're odds on to win, to kind of lift the trophy. It is really difficult to win back-to-back Champions Leagues, especially in the Champions League era. It's only Real Madrid that's done it in that era. And you think some of the teams, Messi's Barcelona, Pep's Barcelona, Ferguson's Man United, teams like that, AC Milan, it's very, very difficult to win it back-to-back. And also what I would say is PSG going forward, I think, without a doubt, are better. Arsenal, I think, have only conceded, it's either 6 or 8 goals in the Champions League this season. PSG have conceded 22, so they can be got at. So there is definite belief there for Arsenal, I would say.
Okay, Sean, obviously tonight, Crystal Palace, Rayo Vallecano, Conference League final in Leipzig. Sam's here for us, so to Alan Pardew. What are you thinking on that?
Palace do go in as favourites for this, and the price seems to be coming in all the time. Currently, it's 22 to 25 for them to win in 90 minutes, 21 to 50 just to lift the trophy. So quite good, quite long odds on for both. Like the Arsenal game, it's just over 2 to 1 for it to finish a draw after 90 minutes, and it's round about 3 to 1 for Rayo Vallecano in 90 and 8 to 5 for them to lift the trophy. Now, both have conceded the same number of goals and kept the same amount of clean sheets. It's 8th in La Liga versus 15th in the Premier League. Not putting a massive amount of stock in that. La Liga was a bit crazy at the end of the season. The last couple of games, had they not got a win and a draw, I think Rayo would have maybe slipped down to about 13th or so. But nonetheless, potentially a closer game than 3 to 1 for a Rayo win suggests. And I mean, whether or not it's quite reached massive tournament status yet, it's certainly a massive game for Crystal Palace in terms of, one, a second trophy in just over a year, and what it will mean to fans, but also 2, the fact that if they do win it, it carries Europa League qualification for next season. So the payoff is immediate as well as, kind of historic, isn't it, Simon? I don't know, are you confident tonight?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think this. I mean, listen, this is a side that's that's set up well by Oliver Glasner, but I think that the opposition are not slobs. They're not going to have it all their own way.
Yeah.
You look at their recent results, they only just got beaten the other day 1-0 by Barcelona. So you look at this team in their own league, they're not a bad team, but I think Palace should have enough about them to correct the wrongness of being in this situation in the first place, and they're playing in the Conference League and be able to get 2 seasons in Europe, which is what Textor alluded to when he was in there. They actually get 2 seasons in Europe potentially by winning the European Conference League. They've been in Europe before, years and years ago, and got knocked out very early after I think they won the after we won the Zenith Data Systems Cup against Everton in the cup final, and then got a European pass as a result of that. But this is, as much as I think the European Conference League is a Mickey Mouse one in comparison with the Europa and the Champions League, for Palace it's great. It opens other doors, and tragically for Glasner, if he wins it, he should be going out the door as an all-conquering hero of having delivered an FA Cup with 3 trophies actually. If they win, they'll have done the FA Cup, the Charity Shield. If everyone else the bugger's going to count the Charity Shield, we'll count it too. And he'll go out the door with people being unhappy with his outburst and his attitude.
Long term, it won't affect his legacy, though. I think he'll be looked back in 10 years.
I tell you what, it's affected his opportunity to get jobs.
That might do. Yeah.
No, it has affected his opportunity to get jobs. I was having a conversation with a club the other day I went to watch, and one of the things they said that they wouldn't have taken Glasner for was because of that.
Yeah, but maybe he wouldn't want that job.
The most important thing for Palace, Simon, is if they do win it, obviously they have the celebration, but more so when you're trying to attract players to Palace, would be competing with other clubs of a similar level.
Yeah.
Europa League football is a good pull.
Yeah.
It's a good pull.
Yeah. I like Glasner a lot. And when I caught up with him in London not that long ago, he was like, sure, I felt abandoned some time ago. We'll speak more about this, Simon. And I'm being honest. I'll tell you more when we
Feels
come
a
off
little
here.
bit offended.
So as for the betting, do you want to finish on that? And then I'll throw the Charles Schwab preview at Danny.
Okay.
And let's hope he's suitably prepared for that, Sean. But what about the betting tonight?
Yeah, I'm actually curious what team it was Simon was talking about. He's obviously not going to tell us, but just
Chelsea, new best pal here in London, but anyway.
Chelsea.
Right.
How was it? Chelsea.
Was it? All right.
And what Chelsea would think twice about going for Oliver. Oh, right. Okay. Well, they've got Xabi. Where are we going with this then, Sean?
Yeah, sorry. Just to recap the betting, yeah, Crystal Palace actually moved again. They're now 9-10.
Yeah.
So again, odds on, and that's in 90 minutes. Rayo Vallecano still 3-1, 41-20, so just over 2-1 for the draw. They're all 90 minutes to lift the trophy. Crystal Palace 21-50, so quite heavy favourites, and Rayo Vallecano 31-20. Jim.
Jeez, oh. Okay, the aforementioned Charles Schwab. What are we thinking about that?
Yeah, out at Colonial in Texas. Ben Griffin, defending champ from last year, he's at 22-1 to repeat. Coming into this, Wyndham Clark won the Byron Nelson last week. It's a 50-1 pre-tournament shot. Scottish Scheffler again, Danny, another top 10 finish. He's 7th of the season, I think it is. But again, another week without that win. Neither of those guys tee it up at the Charles Schwab, but it is still quite a strong field, Danny. We've got Ludwig Oberg, 8-1 favourite ahead of Russell Henley at 16s, and you'd imagine Justin Thomas will fancy it. He's at 18s after he's finished to the PGA Championship a couple of weeks ago. Good to see Ricky Fowler back in a bit of form. We were talking about this morning as well. Okay, not at the PGA, but in the weeks preceding it, he's 18s, and I think, or I hope, it's time to see Big Bob McIntyre's form turn. Yeah, he was doing well before the Masters, but he missed the cut at Augusta, just not been up there in the events he's played since. He's 22s. Hideki Matsuyama in there as well, 28-1. And over and above that, Danny, 3 weeks tomorrow till the US Open. They just come round thick and fast this time of year.
They do. This weekend's a little bit underwhelming, to be honest. I thought the one at the weekend was great. It was a birdie fest, but Wyndham Clark was unbelievable getting it over the line. 30 under he was for 4 rounds, something ridiculous.
30 under?
Yeah. It was unbelievable. They absolutely tore the course apart. But yeah, this weekend, maybe what price on Batia? Because he's just, I mean, he's a wonderful player, but he's not had the success he's had last season just yet. But he'll be a decent price, I would imagine.
Yeah, he's 33-1 to win it. 71 top 5 and 72 top 10. So yeah, good value there from him.
Yeah, top 5.
Okay, interesting. The Charles Schwab. What do you think, Simon?
Couldn't care less.
Thank you so much, Sean. Lovely. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org.
going down next season.
No, we're not going down, mate.
You're going down, mate.
No, even you know that. Even you know
Well,
that.
why am I saying it?
Well, because you know that's not going to happen.
What do you mean I know? I don't say
never,
things.
You know that's never going to happen.
Well,
we had this season was an absolute joke.
And what's going to change?
Well, everything's going to change.
Well, okay, name it.
Well, starting one with the manager. Right. The manager's come in and he's got results, kept us up.
Right, okay.
He won't allow.
You said that last season.
No, we got Thomas Frank in the summer, and that was the wrong appointment. This is the right appointment.
Okay, but you said that last summer.
So everything will change.
You got a new manager. You said that.
They won't allow that. They won't allow that to happen.
And you can't allow. You can't. You've not got a magic
wand. You can't
wand.
sit there and say that Spurs are going to go down, mate.
I'm saying you now. You will be in a relegation battle this season.
Jace,
promise you.
Mate, shut up. What are you on about?
You're one of my favourites to go down.
What are you on about?
You can't just flip. You honestly, you've been in football all your life. You can't flick a switch and just think we're Spurs. You were Spurs last year, and you're Spurs this season.
Well, that's absolute garbage.
Have gone through the same thing.
Garbage.
Yeah, it's
teams
worse.
Finished 17th, and then they sort themselves
out. Did you get better or
or
worse?
What? We've got more points this season.
Did you get better or worse?
Well, technically, we got better.
Did you get better or worse?
Factually, we got better. Because we got 30. We got 38 points last season. We got 41 this season. Good season.
See, this is the
good season.
This is the arrogance and the naivety of you, and you just Spurs, mate.
No, but listen, I'm up for a laugh. Listen, I'm all up for a laugh, right? And it has been.
You're going down next season.
Oh, we're not. Oh, Jace.
You're going down, mate.
Jace.
You're going down.
Jace. Come on, mate.
EFL Roundup.
Come on, mate.
It's coming.
All you've done. I know you want to keep the narrative alive, right? Just for your own little self-worth.
What do you mean self-worth?
Oh, you want to keep it alive. You keep your little EFL roundups and keep your little Ange masks and keep all that garbage that you've done all season.
What do you mean garbage?
Load of old guff. All right, load of old guff. And it's only been good because Spurs have been crap. All right, so I know you want to keep it going, but you can't sit
24 months.
You can't sit there with a straight face and say Spurs are going to go down.
Right, next season, you're hearing this.
Get a full rundown of all the Championship's biggest teams in the Sports Bar. EFL Roundup with Jamie O'Hara on talkSPORT.
I'm going to put it out there now, right? I'm going to phone the boss. All right, in the break, I'm phoning the boss. Not the mid boss, the big boss. All right.
Okay.
They're getting deleted from the archive.
What's going to get deleted?
Never to be seen again. EFL Roundup cannot be played on this station one more time. All right? Because Spurs are in the Premier League. So forget your little EFL Roundup.
Get a full rundown of all the Championship's biggest teams in.
Now, of course, after the Champions League final between Arsenal and PSG, all attention will turn to the World Cup, of course, over in the US. And the US World Cup squad was announced just yesterday, 2 weeks away from the start of the tournament itself. Some notable names in there, recognisable names, of course, as well. Chris Richards, Crystal Palace, will he play tonight? Anthony Robinson of Fulham, Tyler Adams of Bournemouth, they are included in the squad. Brendan Aronson of Leeds United, some names we recognise right away. Mauricio Pochettino, of course, the man in charge and the man who chose who made it and who didn't make it into his squad. Let's get more on it. Former US striker Taylor Twellman joins us live from New York this lunchtime. Not his lunchtime, but ours. Taylor, good day to you, my friend. What was your reaction? Any shocks in there? What did you think of the squad announcement?
To be honest, I would say it was a little, the way they announced it, it was a little safe. And what I mean by that is he announced 10 defenders, 7 of those center backs. And so right away, my reaction was, well, Pochettino looks at this World Cup and looks at the group of players that he has and says, the only way we're going to be able to do anything of notoriety in the tournament is we're going to have to do this with our defensive side of things, which is very odd because based on the March friendly window, he was very progressive with how he wanted to go about it. He didn't play 3 center backs. He played 2 center backs. And so that's just a long-winded way of saying it was a very safe roster. I don't think there's any real snubs. But there is a very, very interesting topic going on with that roster. Tyler Adams is the only natural number 6. So if you look at yellow card accumulation, you look at an injury, and Tyler Adams is not available, that becomes interesting. Do you move Weston McKennie and he moves back? So it's just a little too midfield thin for me. And that's maybe where you could say Aiden Morris of Middlesbrough could have easily been stepped and put in there. Tanner Tessman is another one, those 2 names. But, guys, we're not talking about massive snubs that changes the team. It just changes, I think, the way Pochettino can go about the 4, 5, 6 games that they play.
Taylor, as you can imagine here, when Tuchel's England squad was announced the other day, it was front page news. It was on every news bulletin here at talkSPORT. Yes. It was covered and reacted to all day long. What's the reaction out in the USA when Pochettino's squad is named? What's the vibe? I mean, has World Cup fever now kicked in?
Yeah, you also got to remember this country, we've got a lot of stuff going on. The NBA Finals is going on. The Stanley Cup playoffs is going on. And so there's, what are we, 15, 16 days from the World Cup? To answer your question, the fever's here. It's been here for about 2 weeks. But again, we can do big events very quickly in the United States. And so I still think there's another level or 2 to get ready for the World Cup. And I think that comes in about 10 days. What's interesting about the way you phrase that question is the roster was leaked for the first time ever in the United States men's national team history. Because you also got to remember the women do very similar with how they announce their roster and everything. It was leaked 48 to 52 hours before that. So yesterday was not the same type of reaction that we saw with Spain, with those videos on social media, the way we saw with Neymar in Brazil. So to answer your question, it's not as if the roster fell flat yesterday. It's just everybody kind of knew what the roster was because it was leaked about 3 days before. So the event wasn't the same that we're used to seeing in 22, 14, 10, 6 in the previous year.
I see what you mean. Danny Murphy, former Liverpool, of course, top player in these days alongside me. So too is Simon. I do the show Taylor with Simon every day. Let me put this to you. Pochettino came in for a bit of flack when he was asked, why don't you call players to say they've either made it or they haven't made it in the squad? Would it not be common courtesy to do that? Taylor, this was Pochettino's response to that.
I was a player. When I didn't make the roster, I didn't want that my coach called me. But my coach, the coach of the national team. I say, oh, which is the reason that I am not in the roster? What are you going to say? I'm going to lie. You are not in the roster because I believe that another teammate is today, in that period, is better option. I don't say that is better player. And you cannot make the roster in the future. Because if I call, it's about myself. I say, oh, I call, I am very human about calling and then giving explanation. Come on, that is
Danny, would you bother if you didn't get a call?
No, I make him spot on. I actually like that attitude. I mean, players, you've got to have some resilience. I mean, you're what? You get told why you're not. Yeah, he's right. You're just massaging someone's ego a little bit, patting them on the back, which doesn't really mean that much because he can't think that much of you. You're not in the squad.
Did England managers always call you?
I had a call from Sven in 2002 because I was on standby and he just wanted to explain how that looks, as in training either with the group or on your own or staying fit and not going on holiday and stuff. And I said, yeah, of course, great. I'll look for, hopefully someone gets injured.
What do you think of it, Taylor? Is it common courtesy to give him a call?
It's interesting. I played for former Liverpool great Stevie Nicol. Stevie Nicol would have called me. Stevie would have called me and said, listen, I'm talking about the club level. He would have called me. 2006, I did not get a phone call from Bruce Arena. Bruce Arena called every other player that did not go except me. I think a simple phone call, I didn't get anything. I had to watch the TV program to find out. And I was MVP of MLS at the time. But Bruce Arena just didn't want, and he knew the headlines was going to be me not going to the World Cup, so he didn't call me. And I reached out to Bruce 3 or 4 months after the World Cup. Here's my point. It's a phone call. There's not going to be a conversation. Danny's 100% correct. You're going to call and say you're not going. Majority of the players are either going to hang up or say, go F yourself, and then move on. However, you're being paid $7 million a year. Make the phone call. I just find an email, text, or anything to be impersonal. You are paid the big bucks to have a man-to-man conversation, and Pochettino's 100% correct. Nobody's going to want to hear it, but call. It's not about him. I'm fine with either way because I've lived both.
Yeah.
But if I was the manager and I knew 10 players were close to making a team, when they are 55 years old, they're going to respect it a little bit more that I made the phone call.
I think the only reason I can think of for doing it is, let's say 2 of the lads go down injured and he's got a call like,
yes,
yeah,
that's maybe why. So somebody right on the edge, say Gibbs White,
yes,
and let's say Morgan Rogers got injured in training, and he wanted to get Morgan Gibbs.
Okay,
White. Yeah, that's maybe the only reason.
I can hear you over in New York agreeing with Danny there. Taylor, tell me this before we leave you: what does success look like for the USA at the World Cup?
Gentlemen, I've said this from the beginning. Because of the 48-team World Cup, if you win your group and you're the United States, you play a third-place team. In my opinion, I've said this all along because you're in your backyard. If the United States want to do anything and deem it success, you've got to get to the quarterfinal. They have to win their group. If they win their group, they play a third-place team, and then they avoid any of the big names because I think the World Cup, I don't know what you guys think, I think it's going to go to chalk. I think there's going to be a lot of weird results in the group stage because of some of these teams not being ready for the moment. If the United States win the group, you play third place team. You don't play one of the 8 FIFA ranked teams until the quarterfinals. So for me, success is quarterfinals or bust.
And give me one name. Who wins the World Cup, Taylor?
France. France could send 3 teams and they all get to the quarterfinal.
Taylor Twellman, former US striker, thank you so much for joining us, Taylor. Great to hear from you. More in the World Cup, of course, in the coming days. We look forward to it all. It's 12 noon.
Interestingly, we just want to get your sort of on this whole players, seeing what people say about them and seeing what people write about them. And just quickly, this is what Gabby Agbonlahor had to say on a player yesterday on talkSPORT Breakfast. We were talking about Spurs and their staying up on the last day. And he had this to say about Vicario.
These players should have been walking around the pitch on their hands and knees saying sorry to the fans. And Vicario, I'm watching the game. I'm listening to the commentary with Gary Neville. You're spot on. This goalkeeper has done nothing in a Spurs shirt. Been dreadful. And there's a clip of him offering out Seamus Coleman. Vicario, we've seen you punch, mate. You can't punch the ball. You're not going to be able to punch anybody. So we know you can't fight. So have some respect for a Premier League legend in Seamus Coleman. But that summed up Vicario yesterday. All over the sideline, trying to be a coach and jumping on the manager's back when they scored the first goal. Paulinho, I think is an embarrassment to that football club. I'll get rid of him.
So that was Gabby talking yesterday on talkSPORT Breakfast. And talkSPORT put it on their Instagram. And what happened? Vicario commented saying, scary. And Gabby then replied, calling him a bluffer. So, Ali, what are your thoughts on players coming back and hitting back at what pundits are saying about them?
No, I think that they're entitled to their opinion, aren't they? If the pundit's entitled to give their opinion, they're entitled to have a right to reply. But I'm not too sure I've been getting involved in it. I think they've got far bigger issues and other things to concentrate on. I understand sometimes players needs or feel the right to defend themselves. They should always have that and have the right to do that. But I just think sometimes you wouldn't want to be getting yourself involved in what can turn into a petty argument. When I'm not saying you should be above that, but you've got more important things to worry about. Listen, there's no difference to a pundit having an opinion than there is a punter having an opinion, and we've had it since football began. That will not change. I'm with Jeff on the Fernandes thing. I think Fernandes has been brilliant this season. I really do. I think he's been absolutely brilliant. I'm a wee bit surprised he got himself involved in that kind of stuff. And I'm a little bit surprised Vicario is getting himself involved in that kind of stuff with Gabby. But absolutely, I would defend the right to reply. But I think sometimes there's no real need for them to get in themselves.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your latest sports headlines, I'm Matt Hutchinson. Good afternoon. Nuno Espirito Santo is staying at West Ham as they go down to the Championship. We're told minority shareholder Daniel Kretinsky has been key to that decision. Our chief football correspondent is Alex Crook.
I think Kretinsky looks at his record in the Championship, maybe looks at his record at West Ham as well, which was top 10 since Nuno came in, but ultimately not enough to save them in the Premier League, and decided that actually, rather than more managerial upheaval, let's stick with someone who's been there, got the T-shirt.
Well, West Ham fans are telling White and Jordan they're happy Nuno is staying, and not just for footballing reasons.
His voice is just so soothing. I close my eyes and I just melt away.
We're going to replace him with Scott Parker, who's up and down more than a yo-yo.
I don't think Nuno would have stayed if there wasn't a bit of a plan either, which gives us a bit more confidence.
Well, West Ham say Nuno is highly motivated to take them straight back up to the top flight. Elsewhere this afternoon, Kasper Schmeichel has been forced to retire with a shoulder injury. The 39-year-old Celtic and Denmark keeper, who hasn't played since February, says he didn't want his career to end this way. talkSPORT understands Barcelona are in touch with Newcastle about Anthony Gordon, with Bayern Munich also interested. Meanwhile, we're told Man City are hopeful of signing Elliot Anderson, who would prefer the Etihad to Old Trafford. And following the controversial stoppage of Rico Verhoeven in the 11th round of his fight against Alexander Usyk, Verhoeven's trainer, Peter Fury, has told us what happened when he approached the referee.
I said, why did you stop it? He said, well, I didn't hear the bell. And I'd done what I thought was right at the time. That's all he said.
Peter Fury says Turkey Al Sheikh has promised Verhoeven more fights in the future.
talkSPORT News.
Energy bills are going to rise for millions of people across the UK because of the impact of the Iran war, and a woman has admitted being in charge of an out-of-control dog that killed a teenager. Emma has more in half an hour.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Spring forwards with Bridgestone Turanza all-season 6 tyres with a 25,000 mileage guarantee. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
We're expecting plenty of sunshine this afternoon, hottest in the southwest, feeling a bit fresher elsewhere and cloudier in the northeast.
Good afternoon, everybody. 6 minutes past 12 noon. It is now officially Wednesday lunchtime. Wednesday being Wednesday, Danny's in our midst. Danny Murphy alongside Simon and myself, and we are live in talkSPORT. Live, of course, on your telly, Samsung TV Plus, Roku, Rakuten, as well as YouTube. Of course, wherever you want to watch us, we are there. The show is available to you. 10 to 1 weekdays, live with us right here from the studio on the 17th floor of the News Building at London Bridge. Huge night for Crystal Palace as a football club, because they have made it to the Europa Conference League final. It is a big moment because it's a European trophy and Palace want to win it. Standing in their way is Rayo Vallecano, them of La Liga fame, and we shall be talking about that very shortly. If you're a Palace fan back here, then tell us what you think. 03717 223344. If you're a Palace fan who's made the trip and you're listening to us over in Leipzig, the venue of the final tonight, then give us a call. 03717 223344. Before we get to that, we're going to stick with this. Hearts, who just lost out on the Scottish League title. Last day, of course, it was between themselves and Celtic at Celtic Park, and Celtic won the game by 3-1. And thereafter, they were claimed, rightly, hailed as the victors of the SPL title. They won it by 2 points. And of course, Hearts' heads were down. The players and the fans very much saddened that after leading the way for so long, they were denied that SPL title in the end. And of course, there was a lot of conversation thereafter. Now what do we see? Lorne Shanklin, the Hearts captain, has joined Rangers. He hasn't stayed with the football club. He has moved on. In a moment, we're going to be hearing from Scottish football journalist Bill Leckie. But this was Shanklin speaking on the move to Rangers TV.
Probably every transfer window for the last 4 or 5 years, to be honest, and dealing with the messages for outside, family and stuff, asking if it was true. But to be fair, I always just had to remain focused with my job at hand. But obviously, when I heard the interest was real come this week, I was really tempted straight away. Obviously, being your boyhood club, it's always a dream to play for, and I was really keen to get it done, to be honest. It was obviously, when you come to make decisions, it's never easy. It was a bit easier the fact that it's obviously Rangers, my boyhood club, as I've said. But listen, Hearts have been a huge part of my life for the last 4 years for me and my family. I'm grateful for the opportunity they've gave me for the start when I went there, obviously. 4 years of my career is a long time to spend there as well, and I'll always be grateful for them for the opportunities they gave me. A really good club, and I'm glad I've left it on good terms over there.
So, Shanklin delighted, but it was a body blow nonetheless for some of the Hearts supporters, because he had done well, Shanklin, since he joined in 2022, scored 88 goals in 171 appearances. And of course, just a few days ago, down at Brighton, I spoke to Hearts investor Tony Bloom, the owner of Brighton and Hove Albion Football Club, and he was talking in very optimistic terms about what Hearts might do this season.
Anyone involved in Hearts, it was a devastating weekend. The last 10 days of the season, so much happened. However, we must look forward. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. The Hearts fans are absolutely fantastic, and we'll be back next season with a bang. We want to be competing to win the league every single season that we possibly can.
Scottish football journalist Bill Leckie joins us live. Bill, good afternoon to you. Has going again ever looked like selling your captain to a rival?
There's two ways of looking at it, Jim. Yeah, it doesn't have a great optic if you're a Hearts fan. However, anybody who knows Tony Bloom knows his record on replacing the players. You look at Brighton, every time they've lost a Caicedo, a Cucurella, so many players over the years, and there's always been somebody lying who he's maybe brought in 8 months before you've never heard of, who seamlessly comes in. Now, when Lawrence Shanklin was injured in end of January, start of February, Hearts were planning to bring in a striker called Rogers Mattel in the summer. They pushed that ahead and they got him in January. He hasn't played much, but my feeling is that this would be the Tony Bloom way of doing things, is you've had this guy sitting there that nobody hears of, so you're not suddenly being blackmailed into paying fortunes for players. This might be the guy.
Clause in Shanklin's contract, which was triggered by Rangers.
Yeah, the tragedy for Hearts is they get a double whammy. They don't get to win the league and they don't get to cash in on selling the player, and that's the unfortunate nature. Now, if Hearts establish themselves as a more meaningful club, and I don't mean that disrespectfully, I mean a competitor for the SPFL, they won't have to enter into contracts with players where they release them with seemingly no material financial benefits. Now, you have to trust the process and trust the understanding of the industry that Tony Bloom has, and a lot's made of that, and justifiably so, because he's done so well in other environments. But you would like to think that there would have been a reward mechanism, and I don't care who this boy good club is. Hearts had him. Hearts were the ones that put him into a situation where he's now sought after by Rangers.
Yeah.
So there should have been some economic benefit, but listen, up and onwards. The bigger disappointment, I suspect, would have been this guy would have been cast some time ago. He would have known that he was, this wasn't all of a sudden out of the blue. But the bigger disappointment will be the loss of the Premier League opportunity than perhaps Lawrence Shanklin, because they'll replace players, they'll build, they'll go again. Look at the players they've sold from Brighton to Chelsea. They've become Chelsea's academy.
Sadly, I mean, Simon makes a good point, but sadly, Bill, the situation in itself with Shanklin going to Rangers, for observers away from the Scottish game, maybe even down here, the optics look like a club like Hearts will always be subservient to the old firm, to Rangers and Celtic.
Well, you will always have players in Scotland who want to go and play for Rangers or Celtic. He was there when he was 12. He was let go. He's had a very, very long route back via Queen's Park and Aberdeen. I mean, he watched Andy Robertson. He played the same team at Queen's Park as Andy Robertson, and he's watched him go and win the Champions League. In the same time that Andy Robertson was moving to England, Lord Shanklin was moving to Morton, right? So he's had to work his way back.
Yeah.
And I think he'll be thrilled now to be back. And I get Simon's point. It's not about your boyhood team. But I don't think, if I was a Hearts fan, I would be trusting Tony Bloom and Derek McInnes and Andrew McKinley, the CEO, in this, and knowing that they gave him this contract, they knew that he could go, and they'll have a plan. And I actually really believe that having lost the league the way they did, I think Hearts will now double down. Yeah, I think if they had won it, they might have brought in 2 or 3 players and tried to kick on from winning the league, but the ecstasy of winning the league might have given them a little bit, not complacency, but you know what I'm trying to say is that sometimes when you lose, you'll know this, Simon, sometimes when you lose and it's the worst feeling is when you think, right, I'm going to come back stronger.
Go again. But the interesting thing, and it's not, and I'm not disputing your position, Bill, and you're absolutely right to suggest that it's a different dynamic wanting to play for your home club. But then Rangers should have had to pay for him. That's my point. If there should have been a release clause that had some material benefit to Hearts. Now, there might have been a very nominal fee. Nothing wrong with him going to Rangers.
Has he gone for free?
Well, it looks like he's gone for next to nothing, virtually a free.
Yeah.
So that's the point I have an objection to, that Hearts can't kick on.
You're right.
They want to take Shanklin, Rangers and Celtic, they want to come along and see the vision when it's arrived in someone else's space. Fantastic. Let them pay for it. So other teams in Scotland can benefit from the materiality of the commercial position that Celtic and Rangers have had for years.
Yeah. Is the common thought there, though, Bill, that Hearts will be busy behind the scenes so that they come back ready to go again, and maybe in a similar fashion to last season?
I've got no doubt they will be dealing pretty heavily in the summer to see where did they fall that half yard short? How can they put it right? Who can we bring in to get us that little move forward? Because they were so, it's absolute sliding doors, isn't it? It's a penalty decision here. It's a goal in the last minute there. Lawrence Shanklin could have been leaving, and I still think he would have left if Rangers had come in anyway if they'd won the league, because it's what he's wanted. But he could have been leaving as the captain of the league champions, which would have been a very different optic. But I genuinely think, and it's an interesting one from Rangers, because they could have signed Lawrence Shanklin any time over the last few years. He said last 5 or 6 transfer windows, Rangers want Shanklin, and they never go for him. But Andrew Kavanagh, the chairman, and Jim Gillespie, the new CEO, have both said in the last couple of weeks they have a new policy which goes against everything they've done for years, which is there's 2 players available of the same ability, and one of them Scottish, they're going for the Scottish player. Now, they've done the complete opposite for years, and Shanklin's the first statement of that. So let's see how they follow on from there, because I think they've decided that the fans have lost touch with the team at Rangers and they need to go more homegrown.
Makes sense.
Bill, is there not a suggestion that maybe Hearts have missed the boat, because you're not going to get a season where Rangers and Celtic are going to be so disorganised, in such chaos, such disharmony? You've got Russell Martin and the pillaring of him. Then you've got Wilfred Nancy coming into Martin, and Martin doing the hokey-cokey, left foot in, left foot out. He's there, or he's not. And Celtic and Rangers are going to be better next year. So irrespective of what Hearts do, they're now coming up against potentially better Celtic and Rangers, and around we go with the standard orthodoxy.
Well, 100% Rangers and Celtic have got to be better. I think Rangers are already putting a marker down. Celtic might depend on who comes in as manager, whether it's Martin, whether it's someone else, how they sort the board out. I think they will still have a lot of off-field issues to deal with. But I get your point. But I think Hearts will very much come into that mix and will at very least be looking to split the 2 of them, which I think was what they were looking to do this year. And they did better than they expected. Tony Bloom talked 5-year plans, as people do. I think Hearts are here to stay. And I think we might end up with 3 teams pulling away
with this manager
rather than 2 teams.
I mean, I know we can make about with this. I'll tell you why. Because Hearts did it to themselves, Bill. They should have dealt with Motherwell on the Saturday before, and they had to go to Celtic Park. So we can argue that, and I know it is mean-spirited of me, but we can argue that Hearts choked here, and that's on the manager.
Of course you can.
That's on the manager, because he was very vociferous after the Celtic Motherwell game with the penalty about how disgusting a decision it was and so on and so forth. But Hearts didn't do their job when the big moments came. Away to Motherwell on the weekend before the final game against Celtic and at Celtic. But I know it's difficult, but you've got to have this. You've got to have that in your locker.
Hold on, hold on. They've lost the league because of the most horrendous decision I've ever seen in football.
Well,
come on.
Let's get it right. The league
There's two sides to this here, guys. That's absolutely true. The two decisions, the penalty decisions, were terrible. The one that Hearts didn't get, the one Celtic did get. However, in the cold light of day, it's not the big games, it's not the big decisions that cost Hearts the league. Hearts lost the league over a string of away games where they lost it. They lost to St Mirren, Kilmarnock, and drew at Livingston. So the bottom three teams took 8 points off them, or 7 points off them out of 3 games, out of 9 points. And with those 7 points, they'd have been well clear before all this controversy happened. So yes, I don't think they choked. I think they overachieved in what they thought they could do. And I think they fell just that tiny bit short. Martin O'Neill performed. Now, Celtic winning the double is not a miracle because they've done it a million times. But Martin O'Neill pulling together a club that was utterly broken the way he did was something reasonably miraculous. Yeah. And the way he came in the charge in the last few weeks was just, in the end, irresistible. The atmosphere on the last day was ferociously against Hearts. And I'm not surprised that in the end the pressure was a little bit too much for them. But I don't think they choked. I think they came very, very close, and I think they will regroup and come back as a force in the game.
Okay. All right, Bill, thank you very much indeed. Bill Leckie, well-respected Scottish football journalist, with us live this lunchtime. And, of course, we'll know in the next 24, 48 hours whether or not Martin goes on as Celtic boss on a permanent basis. We'll find out soon, 12:20. They came mightily close, Emmanuel, to being relegated. And as I mentioned there, 2 consecutive 17th place finishes. And he's saying, 10 to 12 of these guys can stay on. You know, we've got, in other words, we have quite a number of them that can crack on next season. Does he have those players? Does he have as many as that who could do them a job next season? I mean, how many of this group go forward long term, do you think, with De Zerbi?
Well, if you point the finger at the players, I think everyone will say this exactly the same. They don't deserve to play at Tottenham. But if you look at the whole situation, take an X-ray, for the last 2-3 seasons, you realize that there is no serenity and on the bench. They have changed so many managers. And since Levy left the club last season, I think many people in the board have made so much mistakes, And I think the chief executive, I can't remember his name, but I think he has to take responsibility as well. So, of course, the players have a huge responsibility because when you look at the squad, when you look at the money they have, everything, the new stadium, the fan base, I think this club should have played, for European places. But if you look at the whole situation, I think, for me, I don't understand what's going on at Spurs, in terms of sport vision. I don't see it, because when things doesn't go the way they want, they fire the manager. When they don't want this player, they take another one. That reminds me so many clubs, the policy of so many clubs, and they are wrong. You have to stick with your vision. But what is the vision actually at Tottenham? There is no vision at all because the manager changed every single 3-4 months. So you have to come back on what it means, to get a team, which means for me, they have to change the mentality inside the club because I don't see the same Spurs team, the same club I used to see for years and years,
Yeah.
The mentality for me is the worst.
And if they don't change this vision, they're looking at a third.
You can take the best player in the world if you want. Look at Manchester United. If you don't change the mentality of the team, it will never happen.
want to bring this tennis story to air before we hit the 12:30. Excuse me, can I have your fullest attention, please?
Sorry.
We're actually on air.
We were talking
Those
tennis.
red lights by the microphones. That means you're on air.
We were talking about you, not to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, tennis now. As we approach 12:30. Recently, we discussed how top tennis players were campaigning for more prize money, calling for a greater share of revenue generated from the Grand Slams. Earlier in the month, Aryna Sabalenka, world number one, claimed she was prepared to boycott a Grand Slam tournament to push for more money. I've got your attention. Thank you, boys. The French Open announced last month that its prize money will increase by 9.5% to a pot of 53 million. The singles champion takes home £2.44 million. That represents about 15% of the tournament's projected revenue. Now Sabalenka, who's playing at Roland Garros in Paris, has been called a hypocrite after beginning her French Open campaign by winning more than £110,000 worth of jewellery. She began her first round match wearing jewellery worth more than her opponent, Jessica Buzas-Maniero, earned in prize money for the 6-4, 6-2 defeat. So there was a bit of potential hypocrisy here, was there not? And that was put to Sabalenka.
I don't really see how it can be possible to like cross these two completely different words. And as I said before, prize money, it's not about me at all. It's just fighting for players, lower ranked players who is really struggling to survive in this, tennis world. So it has nothing to do with me that I'm fighting for the prize money. Everyone knows that I'm okay. It's just that we are fighting for a fair percentage out of the revenues, and also for the lower ranked players coming back after injuries, next generation to be more comfortable coming into the top 10. So it's not about me.
So is it a weak argument, Simon, to weaponise a player's jewellery in a debate over prize money?
Yes, because you can do it much easier, because she's stupid and uninformed. And she doesn't know what she's talking about. You're talking about 15% of the overall tournament revenue, but that's not what the tournament makes. The tournament makes, if you look at Wimbledon, distributes 50 million of the profits to the players. The other 49 million goes to the game's grassroots. So out of the total profits, the players take 50%. They don't take 15%, they take 50%. So how much should they take then? They take 50% of the profit. Now, of course, if they want to streamline the cost of the tournament and run the tournament and tell us how they can all streamline the cost of the pot and get bigger, we'll have that input from them.
Wasn't their suggestion 89% last time we did these numbers?
It's just nonsense. Someone should be shutting her down on the basis of not what she's wearing and weaponising that as a conversation piece to say, by the way, you can also, if you're so concerned about the socialistic mentality of other people being paid, you can take less for the winning it, or less for the semi-finals, less for the quarterfinals, and we can redistribute it down to the first rounds if you want to. No, you don't want to do that. What you want to do, like most people in that sort of way, is have great ideas spending other people's money, not your own. The bottom line is that tournaments are distributing 50% of their profits to the players. The other 50% goes back to the grassroots that produced these players. So how much do they think they should have? This 15% statistic of the turnover is irrelevant. The turnover is irrelevant. The profit is the side of it. Now, if we're talking about huge proceeds being siphoned out by the tournament directors, but the costs of putting on a tournament seem to be exorbitant, but notwithstanding that, unless the players are going to get together and tell us how to run a more effective tournament commercially, which they're not going to do, shut up and get on with your 50%, you greedy little sod.
Yeah, but the top players will only play for top money.
And she's getting paid it. But what she's arguing for is that she's arguing from her wonderful position of being offended on behalf of other people that aren't as good as her, that aren't getting as much money. Then take less money. It's like people say, I'll pay more tax. Well, go on, then you can pay more tax. You can do it voluntarily. You can pay more tax if you want to. Oh, tax the rich, tax the guys that have got it. Oh, right, but when it comes around to it, when you've got it, you wouldn't want to pay more tax.
I mean,
nonsense.
She's speaking from an authoritative position.
No, she's not. She's speaking from an uninformed position.
She's the world number one.
But that's on the tennis court. Off the tennis court commercially, she's an imbecile. We're talking about... We keep on saying...
She's an imbecile.
How much... Okay, let me repackage this, reframe the conversation. Should they take all the money? Should there be no money available for the grassroots of tennis? If you're getting 50%...
That's not what they're saying.
But she is. She's saying that we are getting 15% of the turnover. The turnover of the tournament is irrelevant. It's the profit that's available that you distribute.
We did the numbers last time. I remember doing this. What their request was ended up being somewhere in the region of 88 or 89%.
Something like that, wasn't it? Yeah. If you ratcheted up what they expect to get as a pro rata perspective, they wanted 22% of the turnover of the profit. So that would effectively mean there was no profit left for anybody else. So tennis and all grassroots can go to hell in a handcart, just as long as Sabalenka and her version of how the world should look is fulfilled. We all know that the talent must be paid. And if the talent is being paid proportionately, which in this instance they are, so someone should be saying to her, you do realise that you are taking 50% of the proceeds of the tournament is going to players. The other 50% is going to the mechanisms that put you where you are now.
Right. So what would your message be to...
Shut up and grow up and get the journalist to ask her better questions rather than say to her, your jewellery costs too much money because they can't find anything else to weaponise the conversation. How about weaponising the conversation with actual statistics and saying, what are you babbling?
Oh, how lovely. All right.
Metaphorically.
With that metaphorically, we emphasise. It's 12:30. Now, Simon, you're going to enjoy this. Producer Luke from the other side of the glass, come on through. Ladies and gentlemen, Simon and I often talk about producer Luke. Here is the show coming around here.
Can you just say your name, what you do in your life and everything,
Tell us about the best.
Listen, I am. You did say if we win it, I've got to come in and apologise. So I'm doing that. I'm holding my word. So. Manu, I'm sorry. Come on the Arsenal. There you go.
Don't be sorry to me. Be sorry to the Arsenal fans everywhere in the world.
Me and every other Arsenal fan. We're all losing faith. You too as well.
Good man. Good man.
Well done. He's a man of his word, which counts for a lot these days.
I tried to forget this morning anyway. So,
first and foremost, on a serious note, Simon and I spoke about it last week. Obviously, what does it mean to you? I mean, how did you react in Paris?
I watched the game, every single game the last couple of weeks, and I watched the game City against Everton, and I thought after the halftime, I thought, they're running the game, they're leading the score, it's over, it's gonna be until the end, and then Everton did a great second half, and they deserve to at least get a point. I thought they should have won that game, but anyway. After that game, Arsenal were champion. So I received so many text messages, that night, from people here in England, around the world.
Tell us, give us some names. Who texted you? If you can.
Were right. You're 20 years waiting, it's such a long time. We deserve it. It's such a great day for Arsenal, for the club, for everyone's. But I was thinking, but how many were positive, for the last couple of months? I've heard so many critics even from the fans, from pundits, from the players, and I was thinking, hell, what's going on? Is it something against Arsenal? But
especially your mate Vieira, he's been quite negative. Even when you won it yesterday, he couldn't quite bring himself to give it all of it. Yes, of course, if they win the Champions League, they will be remembered as the biggest achievements. But not the biggest team, not the best team.
Oh, really? With Patrick having a day.
Compared to the Invincible?
Compared to you guys, or compared to the Invincibles, yeah.
We understand Man City are hopeful of signing Elliot Anderson, who would prefer the Etihad over Old Trafford. City would like to get it done before the World Cup. Forest value Anderson at 105 million. City is saying more like 80. Well, despite Pep Guardiola's exit, talkSPORT's Ali McCoy says City's recent signings keep them competitive next season.
Gehi, Cherky, Semenyo. And you could argue they've come in and been excellent. They've strengthened that City side, so I'm not sure they're going anywhere.
Meanwhile, despite winning the league, Mikel Arteta's come second again, beaten to the Manager of the Year award by Frank Lampard.
I remember coming here 2 years ago. I watched it all, as we all do here tonight, and because of how I am, I was a bit envious. I was out of a job, and I wanted to win. I wanted to be back in. When I went into Coventry, I didn't believe that I'd be here in 18 months' time.
The promoted Coventry manager received a message from Sir Alex Ferguson at the League Managers Association Awards. Fergie praised Lampard's humility and curious mind. Now, Northern Ireland manager Michael O'Neill is staying on for another 4 years. The news comes 2 weeks after O'Neill turned down an offer from Blackburn Rovers. And a group of English fans are being held by German police ahead of tonight's Conference League final. That's after clashes outside bars in Leipzig. Crystal Palace versus Rayo Vallecano is live on talkSPORT tonight.
Wednesday lunchtime, Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy. We're live in talkSPORT, live on your TV as well, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch the show, you can do just that. Big night for Crystal Palace. We're holding our breath. Fingers crossed for Palace in the Europa Conference League final in Leipzig, Germany. They take on Rayo Vallecano. And of course, it's live on talkSPORT. Sam Matterface is over there for us. So too is former Palace manager Alan Pardew. If Palace win the final, they will qualify for next season's Europa League. The competition they would have been in, curiously, this season, had they not breached UEFA's multi-club rules. Now, of course, they fell foul of that, and they fell out the Europa League competition, hence they're in the Europa Conference League. But they've gone all the way, or they might tonight, if they can see off Rayo Vallecano in the final. Outgoing boss Oliver Glasner was speaking ahead of the game.
For me, the best thing would be, of course, winning tomorrow, but not for winning tomorrow, because then they play European football in the Europa League next year, and then they get next year what we should have got this year. And then I say I would like to watch on TV that they start the Europa League with the desire and the confidence that they can win the Europa League as well. This would make me really happy, because then I think we created a mindset all together that where at the end is always successful. That doesn't mean that you win a trophy every single year, but at the end you will always get the best out of every single player.
So Europa League next season, Simon, if they win tonight, is Glasner set to offer up the perfect parting gift, do you think?
Well, they were tipped as favourites, weren't they, when they went into this Conference League? So they're doing what they can, suggested they should be doing, and what's on the can is what you get. So they struggled at times. They were the ointment team, didn't they, Arnica? They lost against them in one of the group stages, I think, and then beat them in a knockout, if my memory serves me rightly. Anyway, they're there.
Yeah.
Difficult game, but wonderful for Palace. You know, wonderful for Palace to be in Europe. Whether I think the European Conference, like all of us did, thinks it's the less of all the competitions, it doesn't matter. Crystal Palace are building up. They've won the FA Cup. They won the Charity Shield. They've had a good manager. Tragically for Palace, that the manager that's done this is no longer going to be the manager. So they're going to have to restart the process again of evaluating who's going to be the next manager. I mean, ultimately, all the best players have been sold from Palace, you know, in terms of Eberechi Eze and David Olise, that have gone on to be really quite significant in winning Premier League. Michael Olise, sorry. Yeah. A potential candidate for the Ballon d'Or. All of these players have gone on, and it shows you that Palace are producing top players. And the club has done remarkably well over the last 10, 12 years with Parish at the helm and other people. You've got to give it all the credit, as much as I may have my own issues with it.
Yeah.
But the Palace fans, I couldn't be more delighted for the Palace fans that they are getting what I think a club of this size and scale and opportunity from the past that's missed its opportunities is now beginning to take them a bit more.
Danny, would winning this thing tonight surpass the achievement of winning the FA Cup?
I don't think so. No. The FA Cup with its history and
the opponent.
Yeah, and of course the opponent, especially in the final. I think that'll be a memory that lives with Palace longs for fans a long, long time. Don't get me wrong, even though I'm with Simon on this particular European trophy being not that important, or not important, but not that great.
We'll have it.
The evening tonight for the Palace players and supporters, if they win, will be a phenomenal feeling because you're achieving something together. It's a trophy you're in, you want to win. The memories will still last for this, but not in comparison to the FA Cup now. I mean, what I saw on that day was nothing short of incredible. The elation, the emotion from the Palace fans who've not seen their team win a trophy for how long was it? A long time.
For a long time. I mean, they won the ZDS in the mid-90s, but who remembers that? I mean, West Ham, you saw the outpouring of emotion when West Ham won it. And so with due respect, that's the scale of it. But when you beat Aston Villa in the semi-finals of the FA Cup, and they go on to win the Europa League the following season, and you beat Manchester City in the FA Cup final, and despite the fact the European Conference is a European league, it's a new creation. The FA Cup is the oldest and best competition in domestic football on the globe. And so for Crystal Palace to have won it, and to be the first real meaningful trophy, is, I think, going to supersede winning this. This might be the next evolution because you're winning something in Europe, but I think the FA Cup will always stand above a tournament that's been concocted primarily to give people an opportunity to commercialise another string of football in Europe.
And it is it's a weak tournament. I mean, the opposition they played in the groups.
Yeah, nonetheless, they want to win it. And if they do win it, Danny, would it mean that Glasner would leave Crystal Palace something of a legend? And the reason I asked that, he replaced Hodgson in February 2024. Palace were 15th in the Premier League. He led them to a 10th place finish. Then in his first full season, they came 12th and they won the FA Cup, as we have described. But things haven't always gone the way that Glasner would have wished. And in January, Palace were knocked out of the FA Cup by Macclesfield. Mark Gahey was sold. And then Glasner seemed to sort of self-destruct in the media following defeat to Sunderland.
We feel that we are being abandoned completely. It makes me really upset today. If your heart gets torn out twice a year, and with Eze 1 day before a game in summer, and your captain 1 day before a game, I've just got no understanding. I'm in football now for more than 30 years. I've never experienced this, not once, and now it happens twice within 6 or 7 months. We're playing for weeks now with 12, 13 players from our squad. Couldn't give them any support from the bench, and that makes it so tough because the players, they were leaving their heart on the pitch.
I mean, a few weeks later, after a draw in February to Zuzunski Mostar, the Palace support called for his sacking. Glasner responded by telling them to stay humble. There was a banner at the next home game, declared that he was finished. It kind of went pear-shaped, Simon. And of course, in your view, he did himself no favours by saying, I feel abandoned.
But he did do himself no favours. I mean, I think it's dishonest what he did because he was really only concerned about his own reputation. He'd made his decision. The decision had been done. He wasn't staying at Crystal Palace. So there's no real benefit in building more around him and doing what he wants to do because he had told them in October he's leaving. So what's all this crap about?
Does that impact his legacy?
Well, in certain terms, yes, it will, because people, like I've alluded to, will look at that and go, you made a lot of noise at a small club. Imagine you get a big club and you start making noise about the amplification around that.
Yeah, but look at when he was at a small club.
That's
won the FA Cup.
But no one's disputing that.
And he won a European trophy.
You have to realise that as an owner, you look at it through the prism of not only do you get managers to perform, they've got to behave in a certain way. You want to have a war with me, have it offline. You want to call me all the names under the sun and tell me what you think of me, that's fine. We'll have this conversation and we'll do it privately. But to go and do it in the media wasn't about anybody else but himself. Now, that's silly because Glasner is a first-class manager and has achieved first-class things. And he got Palace out of the cart. He's had to endure a lack of support. He's had his best player sold from underneath him. I think he took it on the chin first time round in the first season when he kept them up and did it with aplomb. They sold Elise and they sold Joachim Anderson from underneath him. He got on with it. I've only been here 5 or 6 months. I'll get on with it. The following season, when the FA Cup, he expected to be supported, and he got less.
Right.
So he leaves the club, understanding that. But Palace were a gateway for him into the Premier League. He came out of Frankfurt with a decent reputation, but one of a painful manager to deal with, a bit temperamental. So now he's proved it. He's proved that he's an excellent manager, but he's temperamental. And some people would suggest that I don't need the temperamental side. Now, I would go with the idea
that's not going to affect his legacy. That'll affect his future.
Yeah, that's my point. It won't affect his legacy, but his legacy's been tarnished with the Palace fans because they should be.
I don't think it will be over.
He should be getting a Guardiola celebration. maybe not to the extreme because he's been there 10 years, but there should be an absolute celebration from the Palace fans, and Oliver Glasner should go out the door like Terry Venables did back in the 80s.
But there is that, isn't there? Name me a top manager, Danny, that's not temperamental.
To that extent, to what he said there, It's one thing being temperamental is another thing being
the one that springs
destructive
to
and
mind was
and he'd already left.
Maresca chatting, and then he loses his job. And a big club, you can't really.
But he left.
You can't really.
He'd already left. He'd already decided in October that he was not going to stay.
The stupid thing
so
was.
Get on with it then.
The stupid thing for Glasner was that most of what he said is right.
Of course he's right.
But everyone else was saying it for him anyway.
But he was of course he was right. He was unsupported. The choice.
So if he was right, and he feels he was right, he was quite right to say to me recently that event up at Scots and Mayfair. No, I don't regret what I said. I did feel abandoned.
Well, fine, then you live with the consequences of it. And the only person that's being affected by the consequences of him, if he wants to live with it and miss opportunities, is up to him. So we don't have to worry about his future because he doesn't worry about it himself. The fact is that I would have more sympathy with him if he was set to Palace and gone to Palace and said, I'm staying, I demand support. And he agreed to stay and signed a new contract. But he had told them in October, I am now leaving. So what is Palace's job now? To bung a load of money at him and give him what he wants for someone that's decided he's leaving.
The other thing was, if he was that disgruntled, he could have walked.
Of course he's not going to walk. He's not going to sacrifice his contract.
That's what I'm saying.
So the morality of his... The reasons why I say it's dishonest is because it wasn't about anybody but himself. And the polar opposite of what he wanted to achieve, he wanted to say, look at me, I've been unfairly treated, and look at the team. And coincidentally, ironically, it coincided at the same time with the decline of the team's form. Right? So all of that compounds to a problem. And a brilliant manager goes out the door with his reputation tarnished. That makes him a fool because he should have walked out of Palace on water going, where are my opportunities like Areola's going to do? Do you think Areola didn't feel abandoned at times when he got Semenya sold from underneath him? When he got
three at the back four.
But maybe to get success, you've all got to be on the same page, obviously. And if they're not, there's going to be conflict. Glasner has said, if a player is always saying yes to me, or if I always say yes to somebody, then we'd always have flowers flying around the training ground, but we'd never win anything.
I agree that out of conflict and out of spark comes creativity.
Conflict.
Yeah, but some kind of conflict is very destructive and counterproductive.
Public conflict.
There was nothing to benefit for Oliver Glasner, for Steve Parish and Oliver Glasner, or Palace in its boardroom, who I disagree with. I think if you want a manager like Glasner, you've got to support him. They chose to determine that the future of the club is more important than the financial footing than going all in with a manager. We give you another 50, 60 million quid, we get 2 places up the league, it makes no sense to us. We ain't doing it. We're going to manage the football club the way we want to. Now, he would have known that when he came in the door. What he got drunk on was his own success. Because he achieved something, and rightly so, he goes, well, I've won the FA Cup. Palace, where could Palace go? What's it going to cost Palace to get to where he would want them to go? It's going to cost them hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds to get Palace into the space. Don't forget that Villa have spent quite a lot of money, and they've now been sanctioned under SCR and also done deals with UEFA because they spent so much bleeding money.
So has he tarnished his legacy amongst the Palace fans?
What do you think? They were doing banners 3 months ago. He is delivering an outcome that he should be celebrated without a debate. And there will be a reaction from Palace fans that will celebrate the achievement, but not the manager. He should be absolutely given the keys of the town for the achievements as a football manager. I'm over-egging the pudding, but he's not going to be. And the reason being is because he had a childish, temperamental outburst that wasn't necessary, and he should have taken stock of himself. And that's what football managers do. They behave like that, but except, of course, you guys will lionise them and say, oh, everything they do.
I think if he wins it tonight, all of that's forgotten, or as good as.
I agree.
As good as.
Well, it's true.
And the proof will be in the pudding, Simon.
I hope so.
Where Glasner ends up,
then why are we talking about it?
Will be super significant.
But why are we talking about it then? Because there's a debate in our minds that's not going to be the case. And with due respect, I think he should absolutely be applauded. And I hope that he is, because he deserves it. He deserves also to be told he's a bloody fool for the outburst in equal measure. But the fact that we're talking about it and debating whether he's going to be must mean there's an underlying connotation that possibly he ain't going to be.
Well, in the minutes we have left, Palace fans, what do you think? If you want your say on this, give us a quick call. If he wins it tonight, does he go with his legacy unblemished, Oliver Glasner? Where do you stand in that? 03717 223344. I don't think Roy appears to be in any mood to say he was wrong, because on his Instagram account, Keane shared a photo of a donkey with 2 lions in the background, and it had a caption of "Too much attention makes a donkey think he's a lion." So that doesn't appear to be Roy backing down, does it?
Does he have to back down then? By whose standards does he have to back down?
If you quoted somebody and you quoted them wrongly, and they hadn't said what you thought they'd said, you'd man up, wouldn't you?
Probably.
You'd front up.
Probably, because
You would.
because I think it would give me more strength to be right than in a different instance than being wrong and standing with it. Because if I was wrong, I still think that Fernandes is a weak leader. I think he's a good player. I think he's a good player in an average Manchester United side. And I think you'll win nothing with him of significance. And they really haven't won very much. But that doesn't alter the fact that Fernandes is, I think he's better than he was 2 or 3 years ago. I think myself and Souness should sit on this show going, never win anything with people like Fernandes. That's not a leader. Keane's a leader. Souness was a leader. I'll have those guys all day. And yes, I know they belong to a different era and a different generation, and an era and different generation that we should long lament for, because it's brand of modern day football. And no, thank you very much.
Roy's a club legend, yeah. Do you think he's become a bitter club legend?
No, not really. I think he's set in his ways. I think he harks back to a time when United were, as I said, strode across English football with all the swagger. And I think he doesn't like the idea of them being an also-ran. And and he's basically saying, a day of a lion or life of a lamb, whatever it is. They're lambs. They're lambs. This Man United guys. They can't even breathe the same rarefied air as the Man United teams of the previous. So I think there's an element of that. I think people look at things and go, like I do sometimes, look at people going, how have you got? I hate people getting rewarded for mediocrity. I hate people getting things they don't really merit. And today's society hands it to them and lionises people. And I think Roy's a little bit like that. Now, I think it would be better for him to go, you know what? It's a strength to turn around and go, on this instance, I got it wrong, but I still think you're flake. I'll take that from him. So he should, but he won't. And that's part of the appeal of Roy Keane, that he will stand. You can listen to the other ones, like Ian Wright, that never say anything about anything, or you can listen to Roy Keane. I love Roy Keane all day. I love him all day, and every now and again he'll say something that he shouldn't say, or row back, or won't row back from something he has said. And you can draw your own opinion on him, and you can conclude that that might be a limitation of Roy, and he should do this. Who says he should? We?
Get ready to get the ultimate football fan winning feeling with talkSPORT Win.
Yep, this Monday, somebody is winning the trip of a lifetime. You could be England's first game against Croatia in June 17th. Return flights, accommodation, spending money, tickets, and the official Adidas match ball, the Trionda, all thrown in. Here's how you can do it. Head to talksportwin.com or text WIN to 83338. Text online entries £2.50 plus your standard network rate. The number to call is 03434187260. Entries got to be in by 4 o'clock Monday afternoon. That's when you've got to answer your phone. If it rings, 18 plus UK residents only. It's a talkSPORT promotion. Full terms and conditions at talksportswin.com. Crystal Palace in the final of the Conference League tonight, the Europa Conference League in Leipzig. They're up against the Rayo Vallecano. Here's the thing. If Palace win it, does Oliver Glasner leave the football club with his reputation unblemished? There's a message from a Palace fan. Simon doesn't speak for Palace fans here. Glasner will be given a hero's send-off and will be remembered as our greatest ever manager. I'm glad he called out the board as they went and spent money. Glasner has always been a very honest man. And even when he was winning, he was honest and realistic. Of course, he will go with his head held high. So
I'm glad they're celebrating him for his achievements.
Yeah, that Palace fan is happy. I wonder if Dan, the Palace fan, is happy. Dan, where do you stand in this? Good afternoon.
You all right, lads? Great show as always. Watching Palace today from West Yorkshire, as you can tell by my broad South London accent. But yeah, in my opinion, Oliver Glasner will go down in history as the greatest Palace manager of all time. I know that Coppell helped build the club up and won the ZDS, as Simon rightfully said. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, that day at Wembley for me was the greatest day of my life, as sad as that sounds. But yeah, the Conference League will be the cherry on top of the icing on top of the cake.
Right, and all of the things that happened in the last few months, that hasn't tainted it in any way, has it?
In 10 years' time, will Palace fans be thinking about that if we win this?
Exactly. No, I agree with you.
Good point, Dan. See, good point.
It's the same as the Mo Salah situation.
Dan, before you leave us, are you going to win it?
I hope so. I really hope so. I mean, I don't want to get my hopes up because Palace work differently to the rest of the universe, as Simon can attest to.
Good man, Dan. Thank you for that.
So then what was all that about then? Why did we have demonstrations inside the stadium and noises about Oliver Glasner? I'm glad they should be celebrating him. They should be absolutely revering him, and I hope that they do. But the only thing I would respond to is they weren't 3 months ago, were they? They were jumping up and down, outraged by the perception of what he was saying, and now they're back in the camp where they're celebrating their manager. And that's right. That's what my point is. I hope they do. I don't want him to not be celebrated. It doesn't alter the fact that I still think he's foolish for doing what he did. They say it's calling out the board. Fantastic. That's their view. Calling out the board. Go run a football club and see how difficult it is.
Danny, difficult to win a European final. You've tried exactly that, and you've been successful, you've been unsuccessful. What's going to happen tonight?
I think the experience Palace have got will edge them over the line. It'll be tight. I think Vallecano in the semi-final got a tad fortunate when they had the lad Strasbourg had the lad sent off early in the second half. In the first half, I should say. Yeah, Palace playing against top quality opposition in the Premier League every week stands them in good stead, doesn't it? If they can beat City in the FA Cup final, they can beat Vallecano.
There you go. Yeah.
Go on to Palace.
Shed a little tear tonight if Palace cross the line and lift a European trophy?
Not particularly. I'll be delighted for the fans.
Simon hasn't shed a tear since 1982.
That's correct. No, listen, I have mixed emotions about my relationship with Palace these days, but they're the team that my father played for, I grew up supporting, I owned, and I want them to do well for the fans, absolutely.
Are you proud of them that they're in a European final tonight?
I'm pleased for the fans. Genuinely pleased for the fans. You know, if you own a football club and have the experiences I have, it will take some of the love away. And all the fans will say, oh, you've got to love it forever. Go run it. Go own it. Lose a load of money in it. See what you see. And then you might have a different view. My view is slightly different. But I really want the club to do well for the fans because I think Crystal Palace supporters are brilliant. Yeah. I've always thought they were brilliant. They were brilliant when I was there. And I want them to be successful for the fans.
Okay. It's live in talkSPORT tonight. Sam Matterfish is over here. So Alan Pardew alongside Sam. So are a number of my chums. Steve Rowland's out there. James Green is out there. Enjoy the night. And come on, Palace. Bring it home. It's 1 o'clock.
Let's get back to some calls. Go to Darren. He's a Spurs fan. All right, Daz?
All right, Daz.
Hi. How are you, Daz?
Relieved. I'm not celebrating like some of the fans that have come on from Spurs. I think they're ridiculous. The only thing I did when the whistle went, I turned to my mates who I go with every time, and we said we're relieved, and we walked out the stadium because we